wishes.
What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, our Monday show presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. It is muskox season. There is no greater time now than to wear a muskox flannel. It is like, it's like 50 degrees. Like, it's just begging you to be comfortable outside, still comfortable when you go inside. It's not, everybody's got that shirt that you're like, oh man, I'm just too hot when I wear this both places, or this isn't enough protection. That's the beauty of a muskox flannel. You can be everywhere. You can be comfortable. Like this weekend, we had people over. We were doing a pumpkin painting party on our back deck. Guess who was comfortable in a muskox flannel? This guy. Later on that night, watching football in the house, still comfortable in the muskox flannel. This guy. Go to gomuskox.com and you can use the promo code Peacock for $15 off your flannel purchase for Couch and the Rube listeners. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Bazooka time.
It's the American way, except America has gotten soft.
Hey, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good.
You know who doesn't look good in a muskox flannel?
Who's that?
Jonathan Smith.
I think
even that wouldn't save him today.
Yeah.
Presser. What are we doing? Is he still the coach?
It would be a good first step.
Was there not like an announcement that there's going to be like a new coach? Like Rossi's going to take us the rest of the way here against his former team?
He's the coach. He just had a press conference today.
Why?
Because they play a game this week and he has a Monday press conference.
Sit that one out. I would be like, I'm good, guys.
There's going to be a lot of shitting on Jonathan Smith in this show. What? I'm just going to warn people. If you don't like that, this is not the show for you.
Oh, really?
And because
sending out a warning.
Our takes from listeners are at that point. To his credit, I do want to say this. To his credit, he has not been defensive at all.
That means you'd have to show emotion. Right?
Well, but you know what I mean. Like you can sense it. Even there, it is. He looked like a man who was defeated on Saturday. He looked like a guy who knew it was coming. That was the closest. So. That whole room had, as I wrote, just sort of an air of inevitability. But like today, I think he knows what's coming. He doesn't talk necessarily like it, but he also has not been somebody who's been like snapping at people for asking tough questions.
Why would you?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now,
at this point,
Mark D'Antonio would be in this situation. Mel Tucker would be in this situation. Those two guys, Tom Izzo would be doing it.
Those guys won something here.
Well, I'm just saying, every other, I don't know if Nightingale would have, but a lot of the others would. And so that to his credit is something that I think is
there has to be a part inside of him though. It's like $30 million. Yeah, that's not bad though. $500,000 for another 6 years. Like, ain't too bad. That's what would get me. Like when you were asking me a question at a presser, I look down and see Solari and Human. I'd be like, $500K for the next 6 years.
I think here's the reason he doesn't think that way. I think he knows. First of all, it hurts your career, right, and the things you want to do. But also, he knows how many people it also affects that are under him. Like there's a whole village that comes with him that go. All these people have to move and change.
That's why he's not good
for
this college football landscape. Yeah. Get out of here if you feel emotions like that. You think Brian Kelly felt any emotions like that last night?
No, you don't.
50 large,
right? No,
man.
No, Brian Kelly actually, James Franklin. These guys. I'm not saying they don't have a soul, and I'm not saying they aren't heartless, but
you have to have those. Soul.
Yeah, it's a different. They're at a different
Jonathan
place.
Smith is what happens when you have a soul. That's how you can say it. You have a soul in this college football landscape.
So J Batt's first question in the interview process for the next coach is, do you have a soul? And if the question is yes, you just end the interview there. You know
what his second question would be?
What's that?
Where can I get magnets with Matt Drolette's AI stuff on it? Not only magnets.
For Couch in the Rube.
Teacups.org. We have mugs with Matt Drolette's AI fun cartoons with the Couch in the Rube cast here.
If you're watching on YouTube, I'm holding them up right now.
He's doing a great job of it. They're very tiny, so it's hard. You can't really zoom in on the YouTube. But anyway,
I'm like the model on Price is Right. And when you wear a muskox flannel, you look like a model on Price is Right.
You can put one in your pocket on your muskox flannel.
Yeah, there you go.
While you're carrying a mug.
Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah, teacups.org.
They're $4 a piece for the magnets, or if you can get all 6 of them for $20, and the mugs are $15.
There we go.
So there we go. Teacups.org.
Absolutely.
TEE, 2 E's.
All right,
Anyway.
should we
Go
dig
ahead,
in here?
man. You tell me, where are we going from here? Like,
Well,
is it going to happen after Minnesota? Like, it bums me out to have to watch Smith go through this process here.
So I figured it wasn't going to happen Sunday, but I wasn't sure. It was to the point that, like,
Magic Johnson's getting in on it now.
I left the press. What did Magic just tweet?
Dude, Magic Johnson.
What did Magic tweet?
Hold on, let me just get it for you.
Hold on. Okay.
Magic Johnson. It's been hard for me to cheer for my Michigan State football team. They are 0-5 in the Big Ten. The offense is lacking imagination, and the team overall looks uninspired. Man, I mean, that is wow.
You know what's uninspired?
If Magic is tweeting like
You know what's
that.
uninspired?
Uh-oh.
The total he's given to the Lansing Promise.
Pound the bushes.
Yeah, Magic.
Magic,
How
bring
dare
it.
you have a tweet that means something.
Bring it to the Lansing
You
Promise.
actually
and-
say
and I will
something in
bet.
one of your tweets.
He did say
Couch
something.
is pissed.
No, I'm annoyed. Yeah, I'm fired up
Well,
already.
come on. You're writing columns now. It's like, oof. It's like,
Yeah.
man, it's not good. What do we need to see him for to make him earn his $30 million? When are we calling Brian Kelly? Let's get him in here.
So I left the press box on, and I talked about this in the video with Solari a little bit in Windsor, but I left the press box on Saturday evening thinking, that wasn't good, but it's
I'm not
not.
talking about Michigan.
This definitely won't be it. And after that press conference, in which it did feel, Jay Batt standing in the back of the room, as he often does. That's not unusual. It just
Was Kid Rock there?
Kid Rock was not there, and some of our listeners are not happy about Kid Rock being there. But Kid Rock was not in the press conference, at least that I saw. But after that press conference, and just the tone of it, and the questions and where things were, I wasn't 100% sure that Jonathan Smith would get through Sunday. In fact, I worked deep into the night, and so in the morning I told my wife, I was like, I need you to pay attention to this, and if you see anything, I need you to wake me up. Like, just wake me up, even if I've only gotten 4 hours sleep, whatever. Wake me up. And she kept texting me even though I was asleep, like, nothing yet. Okay,
That's not the point.
yeah. Well, she did wake me up when Max Bullock got suspended in 2013, like 3 a.m. She got up to use the bathroom, saw the news somehow, and then said, "I think this is a big deal." And yeah, it was a big
Thank
moment
God for Elizabeth.
Big moment in
Couch
our
would've slept
relationship.
through that.
Yeah, we'd only been dating like a year at that point. If she had failed there, who knows?
Isn't it great when they still care?
Oh yeah.
Back then. Now it's like, whatever.
No, she would have. She knew this would have been a big deal. But I didn't know that he was going to make it through Sunday. And I think if things look bad at Minnesota, if this team shows up there and just looks like it spent
what? Can I get what bad means?
Well,
what do I need to root for?
Again,
now
bad
that the Michigan game's over, we can root against this
But
team.
Michigan and Indiana were not bad in terms of effort. They were bad in terms of execution and ability and winning the game, yes. What I'm saying is if they show up and get shellacked and look like they're done, then and you're going into a bye week, I think next Sunday there's a decent chance it's it. Otherwise, I think it's going through the end of the season. But at the end of the season, it's done. It's not going to continue. There's just almost no way. And I wish there's certain things I can't 100% report, but I just know there is not. Put it this way: the one thing you can say that's fair is there has been zero public support outside of Izzo from him. There's been no comment from J Batt. There's been no comment from the president, other than wanting fans to support the team last week from Kevin Guskowitz. That is just really telling stuff, and people should read into that correctly. So the question now is when you get your ducks in a row, when it makes most sense for the program going forward, and there are debates on that. And because this is happening earlier than I think they anticipated, because a lot of the issues that Michigan State had that have hindered Jonathan Smith are going to be difficult to fix quickly enough for the next, right now. I think you have to make sure you have your ducks in a row so you don't screw up this next thing. I don't think you should be intimidated by the idea that there are a million coaches being fired right now and everybody is impatient and this is going to be everywhere and you're going to be up competing for people. You got to find your person and go out and get them. And so you don't worry. There's going to be a lot of job openings every year. You can't be scared of LSU or Florida or whatever. That's not the way this works. You got to go get your guy. When you know something is no longer going to work, you have to make a move. It does not mean you have to make the move in season.
Why?
Why do you have
not?
to?
I mean, the way the defense is played, they played against Michigan, watching
well.
Rossi come down on your boy. You should be sitting there wanting to promote your boy, but to sit there and watch Smith, I didn't need to see any post-game presser. That stadium was dead. The fan base is dead. There's no reason to have Jonathan Smith coach this game. If you want to get your ducks in a row, I understand that. But for the time in between you finding a head coach, why not have a guy who seems like he gives a shit and his defense is playing well to try to get some momentum built somehow? But to watch Jonathan Smith go out and coach again and do these pressers is just really depressing.
I think there are a couple things. One, I think if you were going to fire him after a performance on the field that was like based on just effort and a team that looked like it was giving in and just done, you would have done it after the UCLA game. The last 2 weeks have not been that. They played a Michigan defense that's better than any defense maybe they faced. And is playing really well. It just held Washington to like 7 points, and Washington just put like 50 on Illinois. So that didn't look good, and that wasn't a good coaching performance. The team didn't look good. The area of the offense, the passing game that was supposed to be their equalizer was not. I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying you get rid of a coach midseason when people stop responding. What was when Bobby Williams lost the team? They made the move in season. That's when you make it. Again, at LSU, they do things differently. They got the governor involved. LSU's a wacko place, right? They're the AD
Call at Whitmer. What does she want to do?
The AD at LSU is responsible for like the two biggest buyouts in college football history back to back. The guy's a moron, and they're going to keep using that person to make financial hires. Like it's a whole different culture, a different deal. And Brian Kelly's been there a little longer and a much less sympathetic figure. But
I would trust Brian Kelly to worm his way out of something like this. I don't think Jonathan Smith can do anything of the sort, and it's just getting embarrassing and more embarrassing. So,
well, and the other component of that, there are two other things to look at. One is, do you want, and I think this is something they're cognizant of, do you want Michigan to be the school that knocked out your coach? I don't think they want that.
They already did it. I mean, pretty much from everything. I mean, Michigan fan Jordan was telling me he could not believe how the fan base, it was just so hollow in that Spartan Stadium. And I understand Spartan fans because you don't know what you're rooting for. But he just could not believe that there was zero fight in a lot of the fan base.
And the flip side is gratifying as it might feel to fire him now, which is gratification should not be a reason. That's not good leadership. That's why fans aren't in the row. That's why Matt C is not the AD. Because ultimately you also have to think about the next coach and the player turnover and what you want that roster to look like and what's best for the whole picture. And if you're not sure it's making the move now, you don't make the move now. You don't. Now, again, you can disagree with that, and that's fine too. And there may be an argument that you can give a good argument that you do make the move. But that's the argument I would make is the counterpoint to the idea of why he's still there. The other thing is I do think this week matters. Like you're going into a bye week after this week, and if they just give in at Minnesota, that will be very interesting to see if they continue. It's
People
also
still believe
it's also year 2, so it's also I get that he's not going to make it to year 3, but it is different than other situations where you just kind of know it. They've had their run. This is a new deal where it's like this person was brought in to build a program, and you're pulling the plug for a lot of reasons. And I think this brings me to one of my points. Jonathan Smith is going to be shit on a lot in this podcast. I've written that it's done. The inevitable is looming.
You
right?
and Magic.
Well, thank you, Magic. Get on the Lansing Promise.
So we need to still watch this guy coach games.
So it's going to happen. It's just there's no way he comes back next year.
All right.
But
so let Rossi go.
So now let's at least look at the other factors. So this mistake isn't. Who else needs to be held accountable? And how do you make sure the next person has success? Because Jonathan Smith was set up to fail. Now, he could be better than he has been, and that's why he's going to be let go. If they just won the UCLA game and the Nebraska game, the Michigan game wouldn't be the end-all, be-all that it feels like right now. And people might be frustrated after it, but we wouldn't be talking about not having a year 3. He could have done enough with the pieces he has to get to a year 3, and that's why he's not going to get to a year 3. It's beyond even with the issues of people not liking his emotion, being a West Coast guy, whatever, not understanding the rivalry, whatever it might be. If he had just won those other 2 games, if they were even, if they had beaten UCLA, even, it would have been I think a different conversation. And so, but like today, he was asked by Stephen Brooks, about whether he had the resources when he got this job. He was asked, and he kind of danced around it. He said there should be more transparency in this, but he's not that transparent with it. And I think that would help him too. If at some point he should just say, we do have some limitations here, and they're really going to have to decide. If it's not going to be me, they're going to have to decide what they want to do and how serious they want to be, because Mel Tucker felt the same way. And he was asked the question about that, and the first thing he did was sort of give this grin. Like, no, he didn't have the resources. There are very few coaches who could have success with the money they had going into this season and the timing in which they had it relative to the teams they're trying to beat. They got to the amount of money that was needed to have the full rev share, from everything I understand, but they didn't have anything really extra. And that's not how you win this season, especially in college football. Now, he was also asked about choices they made, and I'm sure they have some regrets about places, certain guys they paid more than others, and investments, and he talked about that today too. But so they need to figure out, and the school, the donor base, the administration needs to figure out how they're going to fund this thing, how they're going to be cutting edge, how they're going to do this at a level that's greater than this. Because what they're doing now will just lead to another more pissed off fans, another coach who fails, and maybe he'll connect. Maybe he'll go, I can relate to that guy, and so maybe it'll work a little longer, and it will be J Batt's hire, so it'll be more than 2 years. And so they'll have a little more time. But this is no longer Jonathan Smith's problem. And this is a J Batt. It's on him now. It's on the president. It's on the donors base. It's on the fan base. And it's on people to demand certain things. Like we talk about transparency and lack of it. The fans, to some degree, own the program, and yet they're sort of pushed to the side because they don't know exactly what's going on and how they can help. And if they're not going to be asked to help, then the donor base that is asked to help, that needs to be all in. Otherwise, fans need to be asked for some crowdfunding campaign where everybody gives a little and you do it that way. Like they need to be transparent going forward. The Scores Act that J Batt, I think, was hoping would pass, that I had mixed feelings about, is not going to happen. Certainly not in time for next year. And so what does next year look like? And what do you have financially to help the next person? That said, the next person is going to have to be somebody who energizes people and helps sell the program. And I do think there will be more funds available. I think, we talk about Jonathan Smith's personality or lack of belief in him. That's part of the reason that MSU is where it is.
I mean, the guy knows how to cover a point spread. I mean, if you want to say something nice about the guy.
He's done that.
By the way, Michigan State plus 3.5 already at Minnesota. Sharp's jumping on it. He's the point spread king.
Yeah, I would be on the Gophers for that. I don't really understand.
Should we do any investigation of how they covered that spread on Saturday night?
Vegas does not know Michigan State football.
Holy shit.
I mean, because Minnesota
knows.
Looked awful against Iowa, but everything went wrong against them, and they're going to be pissed off. They're 5-3. They haven't given up on their season. Yeah. And Michigan State, this is all. Look, if MSU goes out and beats Minnesota, again, it's not. This isn't.
Is there
long.
A path for Smith staying?
No.
Oh,
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, it would certainly get him to the end of the season, but it would be a credit to him and his staff and this team and the culture they've sort of created that they kept showing up. This is an interesting week from that component. It's not an interesting week for his future. I can imagine Solari keeps talking about, there's still a path to a bowl game, and there is. I think they could get to a bowl game, and I don't know that he'd be brought back. There just is. I mean, the team we watched, how the hell are they going to win enough to get to a bowl game? I don't know that they beat Maryland. I don't think they're going to beat a downtrodden Penn State team necessarily. I do not think they're going to win at Minnesota. They're definitely not going to win at Iowa. Iowa might be one of the top 10, 15 teams in the country. They're the only team that really push Indiana the way they did. And I don't see it. But I do think we're at a point now where, and I understand as long as Smith is the coach, that's a big part of the story. But I do think it's at a point now where you have to look at everything else, because it's now what's next. And for what's next to be better, there have to be other things in place. You have to get the right guy, and we'll see what that looks like. Do you have a first take?
No, let's get to these people, man.
All right, let's
get to everybody, all right? Eric Schultz up first. Number one, Jonathan Smith looks like a guy who knows he's done, so he's entered effort mode. Going for two, not kicking a field goal. They cut it to one score. It's like a kid playing Madden. MSU had a real chance to win that game with an interim. And two, because of that, this is just as much on J Batt. If he fired this guy 2 weeks ago like he should have, State is in a better shape in that game. Strike one, Jay. 3, the longer it takes to pull the trigger, the less serious we look about football. The less serious we look, the harder it will be to get a coach who has any real options this offseason. They're better on the field without him. The optics are better without him. Get this clown off my campus.
Yeah, I don't.
Bravo, Eric.
I don't know if you tie, waiting to make a move to how serious MSU looks about football from an outside perspective. I think there are a lot of people outside who don't even realize MSU is about to make this move because it's only in the middle of year 2. So I mean, more and more now.
So isn't that even worse, though, that you're not even on the radar of people in the national landscape, though?
Yeah,
right.
But Eric is
no one knows.
Eric is not alone. He speaks for a lot of the people.
Yeah, Dominic, number 1, Graham. I don't give a fuck who looks deeply into your eyes sensually. We don't have to wait to cast any judgment because, as you'd preach, we don't know. Yes, people knew. I knew. Jason knew. Matt C. knew. And you know who else knew deep down? You, Gramanito Couch. 2, the game day experience is so horrendous to the point that I don't know why I keep renewing. The lack of order at the entrances, the concourse being so jammed you literally cannot move, the bleachers from 1971, concession lines, no mobile vendors, all of the game stoppages. Fuck this. 3, for scorekeeping, Graham can mention Blumpkins with the governor, but I have to watch my tongue regarding unknowingly dating a fucking concubine. Looking forward to you and Lowe's co-authoring a column this week entitled, Why Dominic Dating a Hooker Was His Own Fault. Our column.
We're working on it.
Just need Lowe's half. Bonus, Couch dropping a grammatical correction on me last week with the me versus I with some weak sauce. First, because I'm one of the most competent fucks on here. And second, I will happily correct your sunshine-blowing takes from the last 7 years with all due respect.
Appreciate you, Dominic. I wanted to do it. What I did,
concubine.
I wanted to correct it because a lot of people make this mistake, including people I work with. Brian Calloway makes this mistake. Our prep editor. It's when you use I versus me in a sentence, and it drives me nuts, and I see it all the time, and then I won't retweet. Like Brian will send out a column or something he did, and it says and it's the wrong version of it. I can't retweet. In good conscience, I can't do it. It's one of the big things that drives me nuts. And I think it's
the writer in me. I just can't.
Yeah. So I apologize because you are, Dominic. I rely on your grammar because there are other people whose grammar I really have to work on here and take time on. So you could probably get just about anything in other than too many mentions of the word hooker. Yeah.
Captain Sparty. Let me guess. Everyone's hot take is Fire Smith and hire Urban, John Gruden, and Max Bulla. Damn, I didn't think about Gruden. Can we get Gruden in here? Oh man,
there are a few of them, Captain Sparty, and to Dominic's first point that I knew, like the idea that I knew.
You knew.
I didn't know. No, I didn't know. I mean, maybe I'm an idiot, but I did wonder, like, if he could have a little success. I wanted to see how that would look for people.
But you knew there was no juice coming in, though. There really wasn't.
When?
You were trying to make it
like at the very beginning.
Juice. Yeah.
No, at the
like in the off season.
No.
There's no like
a lot of
recruiting
people,
juice.
A lot of people thought this was a decent hire, and then in June when recruits started to commit or whatever the fuck they do, that was a there were people who felt okay, maybe there's something here. People weren't out initially. People weren't out after Boston College. There are some who were. There were some who've been out on him since last year, but I think he very much still had a chance. Until Nebraska and UCLA, and at least a chance, because a guy like him needs time to build a program. And again, I don't know whether the outsider, whether the donor base or other, whether he ever would have had a true chance. And I don't, and the problem he has now, it's not just that he's not going to be given the chance. He hasn't deserved the chance, right? You have to win enough in 2025 to deserve the chance. The product on the field and some of the decisions that have been made week over week has just not earned people's faith. I'm not sticking up for he should have had more time, and this is all because other people didn't give him a chance. I knew he was fighting an uphill battle on several fronts, but I did think he might be able to do enough to buy enough time to win enough to stick it out for a while, and then maybe some hearts and minds turn. But the finances of it were going to be interesting, and it was going to be interesting to see how that would turn. Because think about this: think if he had beaten, think if they were 5-3. And they had beaten UCLA and Nebraska.
Yeah.
And he was coming back next year, and they got to 7 wins, and things looked okay, but there were a lot of people who still were out on him. But at that point, he's coming back. At that point, it's on J Batt and on him and on the donor base and to support it, to give it a chance. It would have been interesting to see how that would have played out, and I would have been very curious to see it. I don't think
it's a shame we won't see that.
And yeah, you're not going to.
Bummer. Spartan 231 next. Max Bullough should be the next hire.
Boom.
I don't care about experience. I want someone who gives a fuck about MSU and is tough and has strong ties. Let's just do it. What else do we have to lose? Missing a bowl and from some dude. Give me Max Bullough. Give me all the Bullahs. Chuck, Shane, Hank, Riley, Hank Jr. if there is one. Is there a Steve Bullough, Reggie, Jamarcus? All the dead Bullahs too. Those guys know ball. Anyone named Bullough.
So there's a lot of Max Bullough talk. I will say this about Max Bullough. I mean, I think he's a great football mind. I think he's a natural leader. I think he's somebody who's going to have a really good coaching career. And I'm not saying people can't be ready before it's obvious they're ready and be ready young. But I'm going to tell you this. Not one person in the fan base pushing for Max Bullough right now knows that he's ready because they don't know Max Bullough. I don't know that Max Bullough. I'm not saying I know that he's ready, but that's part of the interview. If you're pushing for Max Bullough.
I thought Jonathan Smith was ready.
Well, he looked again. Right. I'm not saying he's not ready. I'm just saying, he hasn't been a coordinator yet, which is usually the next step for somebody to know how to fix a defense. And maybe he could right now. Maybe he'd be fine. I just think it's probably a little early. But we've seen guys have success without being coordinators. That's PJ Fleck's, trajectory. We've seen it here and there. He is a legend. I think the best case scenario, if you really want Max Bullough on campus, would be that the next coach, whoever it is, hires Bullough to take that next step as a coordinator. And if you really want Bullough to be your eventual next coach, you would have him come in as a coordinator for a coach who is in their 60s with the idea that maybe that guy eventually is the successor. And those, if you can look at the coaches who are about that age or whatnot. That would be, I think, a more realistic.
Do you think the buyouts are going to change, though? Like the structure of coaches' contracts coming up as we see a lot of teams that need a coach, when they hire these guys, do you think it'll be different? Like, I just don't think that these schools want to wrap themselves up in a 10-year, $50 million thing over their heads.
So the problem with that is you're competing for these guys. So where's the leverage? Who has the leverage? That's the hard part for this. I agree. Like at certain schools, we
joke about Brian Kelly, but are we really dying to have Brian Kelly on this campus?
Right. And
are we really? I mean, I don't know.
No, I wouldn't want Brian Kelly's. I don't think he's listening to a couple comments. It sounds like he checked out a little bit at LSU. I think he's done. I think that this is it.
And the way he left Notre Dame, it's just like,
But yeah, and he wanted the MSU job when D'Antonio got it. That was when he was in his coaching prime. He's no longer there, and he's not. I talk about Jonathan Smith being a decent human being. That is not a prerequisite, and I think a lot of people right now are fed up to the point that they would just go with anybody, even if they were the devil. But I think you should try to hire somebody who is also a decent human being.
Okay, but can they have to have a personality, though? Decent human being with a personality, or else I'm going devil. I can't deal with another one without a personality.
See, the devil with you're right. You have to have the whole package to do this, right? But I think being you don't have to be a great guy. You don't have to be, you don't have to fully fund the Lansing Promise and be the football coach. If you did that, I would write nothing but glowing columns. Jeez, Freudian slip. I'd probably do that too. But I'm just
hear your voice in my head when I take a shit.
Like Jesus, I'm telling you right now, if the next coach wants nothing but a glowing review from me, even at 0-12, fully fund the Lansing Promise, and when I'm pushing for you, because
he hates the State Journal. Who's going to read that shit?
Well,
who wants to blow sunshine? I mean, come on. Spartan 18770 next. Serious programs don't bat an eye about paying $50 million to get rid of their coach. Meanwhile, MSU risk alienating its fan base for 30. This talks volumes on where the program stands in the pecking order. And Bake Take, LSU will welcome back their king, Nick Saban, to bring LSU back to glory. Saban's first hire will be none other than Mel Tucker as their defensive coordinator.
What's he Saban, 74 now? I just,
we don't have enough time for all of that.
Why would Saban want to come back to this college football?
Yeah, he's not. He's done. And I think
especially when you watch with Belichick and him.
Yeah, I mean,
North
I
Carolina.
have a little more faith in Saban than Belichick.
1,000%. But you still have that in the back of your head if you're Saban. You come back and ruin it all. You go on that freaking set on ESPN, everybody looks at you like a god.
Well, and the other thing is, you may be able to do it at 74, but can you at 77? 78. Like, you're getting to an era where, and it's just, there's a certain age where people start to decline usually, and
Really?
And I mean, I think we've seen it.
The president.
We've seen it a little bit, and so that's a standard thing, especially the men of that generation. Now, maybe when we get to be that old, if we make it, because we haven't actually done any hard labor in our lives, we'll
not lately anyway.
We'll live a little longer. Although I would guess some of my choices are going to be.
Would Miss Terry let Nick Saban coach? John Johnson. Number 1, do MSU fans think fondly of Saban because of what he accomplished after MSU? As MSU was on pace to get him fired eventually. His success seems to be due to talent and not X and O. See the NFL and MSU resumes. Plus, he bailed as soon as the NIL leveled the field. And 2, is it a good thing for MSU to have big names in the coaching cycle? Is it in their best interest to hire a retread like Brian Kelly? Maybe MSU would have less overall expectations but less resources than LSU. Also, if they strike out, it will break an already fractured fan base ego.
If I'm MSU, I'm not worried about. You got to get your guy. You got to identify who that is. And I'm not everybody saying, well, you're Kurt Cignetti, who is available at Elon and other places long before that, but you do have to identify somebody who's right for you. And maybe that allows the buyout to be a little less. Maybe, you got to go out, and it doesn't have to be you are going to compete against some teams, but if you want a Pat Fitzgerald or something like that, you should be in the mix for that sort of person. If you want a Pat Narduzzi, if you want a Pat, everybody named Pat, you should have the ability to be in the game. Now, there's a buyout on the other end with Narduzzi, and I'm not sure where he is, but
what about the search firms? Do you need to get rid of those if you want, or trying to look for the Cignetti kind of guy? Those, I just don't feel like the search firms are going to help you if you want to try to get a guy.
It's how they're used, and I mean, sometimes they're supposed to be used for the background stuff, and famously they were with Mel Tucker. But I do think there is a purpose in terms of getting you in the door. It's how you use them. I think ultimately, though, you can use a search firm as part of your deal, but the buck stops with you, and a lot of it needs to be your intuition, your interviewing skills if you're J Batt, your ability to say this person fits and this is why. And you can use search firms will help you in certain ways, and I'm not completely against them. I think they're overused sometimes, and I think some of them fail, and they miss certain types of candidates. But they're good at going after the big names and having a feel, and so if you want to at least, touch base in that realm, because sometimes, and this has happened with this job in the last round, there are bigger names than you would think of, and I wish I could get Haller to tell me who these were, but there are people who are interested. There are people who reach out. Whether you get them, I don't know, and I'm not just talking the Urban Meyer thing. I'm talking like there are coaches you'd be surprised, sitting head coaches, and so you never know who looks at that and goes, that's a place I can win. Because think about taking over MSU right now. If you believe the resources can be there, if you believe you can excite the donor base, if you believe, like, MSU is a better place to go, because look at the expectations and what it would take to win people over after a little bit of – we're now removed from Mark D'Antonio's peak by quite a bit, and people are really suffering. And if you produced 8 or 9 wins in a couple years, people would be pretty thrilled and then give you time to sort of try to take it to even the next level. Whereas, I think when Smith was hired and after the 2021 was still recent, it still felt like strike gold here, right? And I think, I'm not saying you don't have to strike gold in some way, but I'm just saying, like, it might be an appealing job, more appealing than it seems. Like, when you really want to go to Florida, where they fire a coach all the time, freaking back sweat, body odor, all that stuff, that's probably why they're not why they're going to turn down the job. But what I mean is, the expectations there are tricky. And maybe the resources are better. Maybe it's better job, and it might be a better job. I'm just saying that you can see why this job wouldn't be unappealing if and only if you believe the resources can be there.
The Inspector Javert of Southern Maine.
Javert.
Whatever. Yeah. As soon as you said part of J Batt's plan to help the football program was the Scores Act, I knew we were fucked. That news was the day's distraction. It was never going to be more than a news cycle swerve to get people to stop talking about Epstein. J Batt is an unserious person.
The Scores Act thing was interesting with him because ultimately J Batt, to this point, publicly has been similar to where Alan Haller was on NIL. And there are other ADs like it, where it's like the rev share is there and then everything else needs to be more legitimate NIL. And I don't think that's where Texas A&M is going to be, though, right? I don't think that's where we'll see where Michigan and Ohio State land. But and again, I haven't talked to J Batt about this stuff. I hope to sit down with him at some point in the fairly near future.
After or before the firing?
It won't be before.
Oh.
I mean, I'm pretty sure of that. But one of the things, and I'd like to get to know him as a person beyond just the AD thing.
Hey, J Batt, you want to hang?
Well, no, I'm just talking about a story, a profile on him. But I think part of the question is like how you handle this stuff now. And with the Scores Act isn't going to be there, that's a legitimate question. Like, how do you compete with schools that are going to take different routes? And maybe he has a plan. I mean, J Batt was brought in to get Michigan State financially to a place where it can play big time ball. That's his job. And so and he's very aware of that. But I'm curious to see where it goes.
Thomas next. This carousel's next slate of coaching hires, looking for the next Signetti, will either rein in at least some of the money and expectations and lead to the next big realignment or accelerate the spot's unwatchability. Is this the sport's unwatchability? I don't know what you're trying to do to me. Bonus, the Pistons will get me invested enough to be super disappointed come playoffs. Hey, the Pistons are fun to watch.
They are.
I've watched them so far. I watched them against Boston last night, Houston.
Yeah,
they don't
look
take
good.
any shit,
And it's sort of like the Tigers when they got decent enough. It is, I'll be honest, I'm not going to watch every Pistons game. I'm not that type of person. But it is nice when they're relevant and it's like, hey, the Pistons are on tonight.
Right.
And I'm going to watch that. And they just that first game I was a little nervous because they came out looking flat. But the last two games they've looked really promising. Jalen Duren looks great. Could be a fun winter for them. The Red Wings are obviously a lot better. Could be we're in a decent. What's so funny is I don't know. This is funny. Michigan State fans will not find this funny, but like 8 years ago, even less than that, 4 years ago, there was a period where like Michigan State were just carrying the state from a sports standpoint. They were everything because the pro sports were so bad. And at least in the football realm, it's flipped, and then the other sports have gotten better, which is good. You can't be down with pro sports that long. It's depressing.
The urinal or portal.
Kevin from Rochester Hills, number 1, Penn State and LSU care about football. 2, refs are ass, but shitty coaching and play are worse. 3, Halloween candy should never be purchased 2 weeks in advance.
Even a year. What about a year in advance when like it's on sale?
You can't have it in the house.
Right.
You just can't.
That's the problem.
Yeah. It never makes it 2 weeks. That's the thing.
Elizabeth bought a bunch for us last week. She's going to have to restock.
And it's gone.
Mostly it's just sitting there. It's like putting, it's not quite the extent of having a Groovy Donuts box right in front of me, but it's there. And and the thing is they're small, so you feel like you're not really adding calories. But when you have eventually 14 mini candy bars, that's not great,
The size of them makes you feel better about it.
Yeah, as you're eating the one, you're like, one on its own isn't that bad. But unfortunately, this is not.
Don't mind if I do.
This is not where I stop. Yeah.
Jeff Peterson next. So the defense played better, kinda. Joe Rossi shows some fire, but the offense sucks, kinda. Quarterback play was weak, kinda, but did some good things. Kinda wish they wouldn't pan in on Smith during critical moments of the game, kinda.
Well, we'll talk to our friends at Xfinity about that. See if they can have some sway over just not showing Jonathan Smith. But if by the way, if you're looking for ways to watch MSU basketball all winter, just to get all your stuff in one place, right, and have the best cable streaming experience you can, Xfinity is here for you. Go to Xfinity.com, type in your address. You'll see what offers are there. They also have great deals on with mobile and internet. And for example, you can lock in savings for up to 5 years, combining mobile and internet and cable as well, and all sorts of really cool 1 year pricing starting at $40 a month as well for home internet. You can do all that at Xfinity.com. Again, type in your address, cut some of the cost, and I'm telling you, with the Xfinity Mobile 2, Their ability to have the same services as Verizon at a lower cost is definitely worth definitely worth looking into.
That's crazy.
To the question, I know people get frustrated by. It's just Smith doesn't. He needs. We talked about this before with Jim Caldwell. We talked about this with other people. You need a better resting face with Jim Harbaugh. Smith needs a
Rossi had it figured out.
Yeah,
he's got to get yell every once in a while.
Next job, he's got to hire like a consultant for this. Yep.
Chris, if you want to fire Smith because of the lack of success, I get it. Even if the better option, in my opinion, is to use that money on NIL and improve the roster like Virginia has done. If you want to fire Smith because his personality won't work at MSU, STFU. Personality is why Rich Rod got replaced by Hoke.
This is where there's a little bit of a divide. A lot of people don't like Smith's lack of fire. But there are a lot of people who think this is overblown too, and I hear about them in emails and some frustration on this front. Rich Rod was not a fit as well too. Michigan did run out a coach. Now, but there's a difference. Like I covered a team at Western Michigan, by the way, when I lived in Kalamazoo, that played against both peak Rich Rod at West Virginia when they had Pat White at quarterback and all those guys in 2007, and then the next year peak Brady Hoke at Ball State. The Rich Rod and Hoke things are different. Rich Rod had it rolling and should have won a national title. If they didn't lose to Pitt in that, was it the Big East championship game back then? Rich Rod never becomes the Michigan coach because he would have been coaching for a national title game and he would have left. And that Rich Rod, great coach, bad fit. Michigan blew that to some degree. Rich Rod blew it to another. But I get it. The Hoke thing is just like what Michigan State has to not do is hire Brady Hoke. Like Brady Hoke took 6 years to get Ball State to have a great team, and he had a great offensive line and a quarterback with a talented arm where they simplified the offense for, and it just worked. They had all the seniors at once, and then the program fell apart, and everybody overreacted. The Muncie Star Press, the paper, the newspaper in Muncie, Indiana, thought Ball State football had gotten too big for one writer, so they hired a second writer to cover basketball. And what's a better basketball place anyway? And it was ridiculous because the football program fell apart, and I don't even know if they have a full-time – they probably do now. I shouldn't say that. But, I mean, everybody overreacted, including Michigan, in hiring back Brady Hoke, who seemed like a fit, but had never really built anything that was warranted him getting that job. That's what you have to avoid. It's not when you have the Rich Rod mistake where it just isn't a fit, and there are lots of reasons. Part of that was on Michigan, just like part of this with Jonathan Smith is on MSU because they have not given him the resources to a degree to have success. But you just don't hire Brady Hoke as your next guy.
Richard Kane, it says something when the defensive coordinator gets about 7 times more time on TV with reaction shots than the head coach. And bonus and bait. It was declared last episode that we leave everything in, but last week I offered a list of alternatives to whore that missed the cut. It's not like I was trying to goad you into a Google search of some weirdo sex thing. Yeah. Graham didn't want to leave that in, Richard. I'm sorry. I wanted to, but Couch said we got to get rid of it.
We did talk. Sorry. We did talk about that. Yeah. No, I don't. I apologize for cutting it. There must have been a reason. It was probably time constraints. By the way, like there are a few people had questions in today's show, and a couple mentioned that you could be part of the later in the week question show. And so, if you had a question, a couple of them made it, but a few have been saved for Thursday, and those will be in Thursday's show. And we're doing a 2-show week this week. Because I am headed to Connecticut on Tuesday and won't be back till late Wednesday for the Michigan State men's basketball game there on Tuesday night.
Grinding tape. Scott, number one, the refs picked up that pass interference for an uncatchable pass because they were so startled an MSU coach was running at them to passionately argue a call. And 2, MSU as a fan base loves their defensive-minded, intense Italians. It is a love-hate relationship and successful Izzo D'Antonio Narduzzi. I know they won't hire Rossi as the head coach, but something about seeing him just being himself on the sidelines made Spartans feel like that's our kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, he did look like what people want. And, I've thought Rossi's a good coach. I think Rossi will be fine career-wise. I think what sucks for a guy like Joe Rossi is he made the move leaving Minnesota to Michigan State because I think he thought he needed one more stop. He needed a place where it was going to work before he got a head coaching job. He didn't think it was going to happen from Minnesota. And it's not going to happen from Michigan State. And he's of that age where it's almost the perfect age to hire a head coach, like late 40s. You've worked enough places that you've He's mid-40s right now, but you've worked enough places that you've been fired, which I think is valuable for a coach. You know a lot of people. You've got a big Rolodex, all that stuff. I think Joe Rossi will be fine long term.
Were you happy for your guy Saturday night though when you saw him like yelling and you're like, huh, that's my guy?
Well, no, I don't know. Happy for my guy. He's not my guy. But,
well, you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, fully funds the land. We promise he can become my guy.
I know, you're not a fan.
Yeah, I'm not.
Still like your takes. You know, you can root for your takes.
No, and I liked I liked what Michigan State did defensively. I thought it was Joe Rossi's best day defensively this year.
Peasy. Calls aside, refs gave Smith every opportunity to show an ounce of emotion, and he just couldn't do it. Type of display that'll make me root against him even if he gets another job. And bonus, Eagle and Blackledge on the NBC call reminded me of Russell and the old man from the UP.
What's that reference? I don't know. Let's try to Google it.
You could tell me.
Give me some hoff.
What are you going to Google? What is that?
Russell and the old man from the UP. I don't know what that means.
Don't put in booth.
No, it's no. There's actually a thing. Russell is a young wilderness explorer that becomes an unlikely companion to Carl Fredrickson, the old man from the UP. It's like a cartoon. Oh. See, this is why you Google things. This is a much more wholesome thing than Blumpkin.
Yeah.
To Google.
Not as funny though. I'm just a Sparty Bill. Next, can you explain who in the holy bleep made the decision to bring Kid Rock to the sidelines for the game? So cringe to have Coach Izzo have to smile and take a photo with him. I've not been pleased with the performance overall of our team, but this was a national embarrassment. And from Shep, is inviting Kid Rock to be on the sidelines more or less of a shoot yourself in the dick maneuver than Hitler's scoreboard trivia? Did they watch his interview earlier this week when he said he was dressing as an R-word? What? Dressing as an R-word for Halloween this year and then put on a surgical mask. Jesus Christ, I'm embarrassed to be an MSU alum for so many reasons. Just absolute idiocy at all levels of university leadership.
People not happy that Kid Rock was there. Did he really say that? He was dressing as an R-word for Halloween?
I don't know. Shep wouldn't lie.
Yeah, that's
where did he come up with that?
That's not great. There's lots of stuff to look like. One of the things I was thinking about this week is SNAP benefits are going to end for lots of people, and there's going to be more food insecure children in this country. Like, I think it's fine. Well, this show is not the place for us to dive into all that, and it's fine to have intense feelings in football about football and Jonathan Smith and all this stuff. As long as those intense feelings, and you don't have to lay them out here, are also felt about like that. We got to have a baseline that you're just as pissed off that there are going to be more hungry children. Because frankly, I would rather that happen and Jonathan Smith coach 46 0-12 seasons. I think we should all be able to agree on that. Like, anyway.
What are you talking about? Hungry children?
Well, no, SNAP benefits are going to end for. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know. I was fired up about it this week, and I started thinking about how little I give about, like, I don't know.
Is this your third hot take? Are we still in take?
No, sorry. I'll take it back. Fix that in post.
What's this PSA you're doing here?
Just make sure our priorities are correct, and then we can also be angry about Jonathan Smith.
Oh, shit. You're the best. Nestle's Quick Hotel next. J Batt must take the path that leads to happy donors. They want to see what Smith has the rest of the year? Fine. If they want him out on a rail before this gets read beautifully by Jason, then that's okay too. Whenever gets his program a bag, that's got to influence every choice. And from Brendan Best, I like Jonathan Smith and think he should get 3 years here, but if he's not getting the donor support to build or buy a team, then he should be let go for a coach that will. Donors run the world now.
This is the reality, and it has been to some degree, but much more so now, right? Because this is not, and who you want as a coach, I think, is changed too. And this is why I think if Jonathan Smith had shown more and been better at certain things, he's the type of coach you want in terms of, like, you don't need the whiz kid offensive mind. What you need right now is somebody who can really create culture and leadership, but also sell a program over time. And you kind of need the Dan Campbell of college football. And now Dan Campbell's a smarter
foundation, man, grit,
a smarter coach than people give him credit for in terms of offense and acumen and all that stuff. But I just think that, I do think you have to take a long look at what matters now. There are coaches who looked like good coaches 5-10 years ago who are failing, and so make sure you're making that decision. And that doesn't mean hire Tom Izzo as the football coach because he'll put good people around him and whatever. But it does mean, like, think about what really matters and what works for a program for 7 or 8 years. And because it is different. The money is everything. You got to be able to sell the program. You still got to be able to, sell the program in a living room. People aren't going to just play for – if all it is money, you're not going to have money that's going to separate you to that degree, especially at Michigan State. But it is a world where donors rule, and I think what you have to do is include them if you're J Batt, and that's where Alan Haller clearly made a mistake. But you have to make them feel welcome, and then get them to trust you to make the right hire with their input.
Brendan Best. Number 1, why the fuck do we let the Michigan band come? I shouldn't hear our biggest rivals fight song and chants in my own stadium, especially when our own band is trying to play between plays and commercials. And 2, who cares if we need to go up against a bunch of schools this hiring cycle? That's the new age of college football. Besties, Signetti was the runt of the litter 2 years ago and seems to be working out for them.
Right. I agree with you here. It's find your guide. Every year there's going to be lots. It's going to be so much now. I mean, there will be 2 or 3 big schools who lose somebody next year. This is what it is. If you don't have the right guy, go get the right guy. To the band point, you know what I would do if I were I think both bands play it. Michigan State's band makes that trip. Just is what it is. But what would be funny if you wanted to poke fun at the length of the commercials is have the band take the field for a performance, like at halftime on one of their 4-minute commercial breaks, and just say, we're not done yet, and then the commercial gets extended. Like, have the band the band could fix this by taking like 12 minutes in the middle of a commercial and just...
Yeah, but then we'd be all pissed at the band. What are they doing out there?
But it would point out the ridiculousness. If there's enough time for the band to take the field almost.
It would just take our hate away for the length of the commercial break, though. Like, what the fuck is the band doing? Get off there.
Fair. I didn't
then be mad at the band, and then I have to wait till afterwards.
Apologies.
To read about it.
Fix that post.
MCV next. In his first game against FAU, Smith decided to go for it on 4th down instead of kicking a field goal to go up by 9 late in the game. We all thought this bad in-game coaching was the exception, but it turns out it was the rule. And bonus, the transfer portal was supposed to distribute talent across college football, but all it did was fool coaches into thinking they had more talent than they actually do.
It has distributed talent to some degree. I mean, you see a school like Vanderbilt rise up. You see Indiana. It's made anything possible, and it's one of the reasons people can say, "Well, Michigan State stays down too much longer. They'll be forgotten about and left behind." That only happens if like decisions are made at the conference level for the amount of money that's being dispersed, and you get left behind in that sense. But otherwise, Indiana had been down for most of 50 years, and boom, like Vanderbilt's been nothing, and boom. So, like, the money and getting the right person at the right time can change things quicker than ever before. I do think it'll ultimately disperse the talent. Places that care deeply about football and care year-round and have deep pockets,
boom,
will do better. And some of those are the big brands. But it'll open the door for – look at BYU. I think –
that's a lot of magic underwear there, though.
Well, BYU's got an interesting thing going. Like, what's the tax on? You're trying to sell
0, tax free.
What's the tax on? How much extra do you have to pay in an NIL deal to convince somebody they can't smoke weed or have premarital sex for 4 years?
Have any fun?
Like, I thought the whole point.
Is there like a fun wing of the campus at Provo?
Yeah, the whole point of being a Division I quarterback is premarital sex. So I don't really know how you.
Unless you're Tim Tebow.
Yeah, right. That's why I
don't know how he
resented him for it. Like I don't
30 for 30 in and of itself.
Yeah. So they've got a whole different issue where they probably have to pay on that little extra.
That's a good point. What is the tax on that?
At least 30%.
Is there somewhere outside of Provo you can go and have fun? All right, Dan Grafe. Number 1, best game Rossi coached in 2 seasons. If he had the defense playing like that all season, MSU would have 2 more wins. And 2, MSU should wait till after the season to fire Smith, just in case Washington or some other program wants to hire him away. Saves on the buyout. No good comes from firing him now.
So that's another interesting point by Dan here.
You should steal that number 2. That's a good one.
Yeah, but and I don't know, if a head coaching job will be there, but there is an offset. There will be that. So like if somebody else is able to hire him, you're going to owe less, and by firing him earlier or how you part, like matters in terms of his reputation or what. I don't know. If there's a way to make him more attractive to the next job, that doesn't hurt MSU too. I think there are a lot of things to consider beyond what you don't do is fire somebody now because it feels good for the fan base to have some blood. That's not a reason. Now, if you think the team will look inspired,
it can't be one of the reasons.
No, it should not be a reason. Period. At all, should not be a reason. Yeah.
That sucks. G.E. Miller, number one. Next coach should start with this. Use NIL and rev share to recreate the D'Antonio strategy of getting a big share of talented Michigan and Ohio guys who have a chip on their shoulder from not being prioritized by Michigan and Ohio State, and some that are. We need guys who care and want to be here. And two, Bryce Underwood has an ugly release, was not impressive, and is not trusted by his coaches. He may become serviceable in future years, but for $12.5 million, no thanks.
We'll see. He's got some talent, and he's got some. I've seen him make throws under pressure this year that are impressive as well. He's not a perfect quarterback yet. He's a true freshman. I don't know what he'll become entirely, but and Michigan State did a good job against him. The pass game was not something that beat him. But as you work $12 million is certainly not this year. But you're going to have to get that to get a guy like that. That's what it costs, and you're going to have to deal with his freshman year. And it'll be interesting because Michigan's now in a spot where they're very likely to be playing Ohio State in the last game of the year for a spot in the playoff. I don't think they're going to beat Ohio State this year, but I didn't think they were going to beat Ohio State last year, and that is a true sort of mind block. What's the word?
Mind fuck?
I don't know. To block. It's something with Ryan Day.
Oh,
that
mind block.
In other words, would you ever feel as good as Ohio State is this year? They're better than Michigan. Would you feel comfortable betting Ohio State against Michigan this year?
Yes,
you would.
What's the spread? What are we talking?
Whatever the spread.
Yeah, I would.
Okay,
I think so.
Okay.
Crunchy's Gourmet. Supposedly, MSU didn't have the NIL resources for Smith to compete this year. Fine, but explain Northwestern to me. No way they have more NIL than MSU, but they're 5-3. MSU football is so bad, I think most MSU fans would think David freaking Braun would be an upgrade over Smith. Does he have a personality, this Braun?
He's
a little feisty sometimes, every once in a while.
This is the problem for Smith. It's sure Indiana and Cignetti is inconvenient, but that's not, and that would be an ultimate comparison long term. But what other people are doing in similar situations with similar challenges is the problem. They're not. It's Nebraska who sucks, and UCLA who's had an uptick but not that good. And it's what happened in those two games are the reason we're having the conversation now. And you can say, well, that's just two games. Is that really enough? There are a lot of other things, but if that would have been enough for year three, they win those two games, the discussion's different. Now, there may be a lot of frustration and a lot of people saying, I don't believe this is the guy. But nobody would be saying he's not coming back if they were 5-3. They just wouldn't be. And even after the loss to Michigan, because it wasn't some loss, it was an ugly game. It wasn't a classic for either team, but it wasn't an ugly defeat. And everybody knows what I mean by where it just feels like it's spiraling out of hand. And it wasn't that.
Izzo for president next. I'm upset after each game. That lasts until late Monday. Then I start to build some hope from there. This is the week they turn it around. By game time, I bought in that we are definitely winning. Then the first drive happens, and I wonder why I even turn on the TV.
Well, probably because you've got Xfinity, and there are so many options. When you turn it on, it's easy to flip. You're not logging on to one streaming service and out of another. It's just right there. Cable is better. We thought cutting the cord was the way to go. It's not. A lot of us have a lot of streaming services and other things. You can get quite a few of them bundled through Xfinity, and you can have all the games at your stream. Like you can order FanDuel TV separate to watch the Pistons and Red Wings, or you can have it as part of your package, which is less expensive and just easier. Right with Xfinity. Go to Xfinity.com, type in your address, see where you are, all sorts of packages. You can lock in good deals on home internet, bundle it with cable, and add mobile for a really good deal there. Again, Xfinity.com.
Ken Chu going for two when you don't need to and not making it stifles the good feelings and kills all the momentum from scoring a touchdown. Crazy decision.
What did you think about that going for two decision? When
I mean, I have given up way before that, so it was just I just figured that meant that we weren't going to have a show today because they were going to can his ass. to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean,
just didn't think.
There are some analytics that suggest that. The problem I have with all the analytics is it doesn't take into account momentum, and it doesn't take into account your team and your likelihood of getting in this situation. I get why, in theory, you want to do it. I didn't like it, and but that to me wasn't as bad as not kicking the field goal. And I understand they said at some point, Jonathan Smith, when I asked him about this in the postgame, said at some point they needed a touchdown when they were down 11. That's why they went for it on 4th and 3. I thought when it was a 45, 47-yard field goal, whatever, 45-yard field goal with a kicker who's been shown he can make that it really would have added juice to the game to bring that to within a score. If you're down a score, things get a little tight. You can feel it in the – like now you put pressure on Michigan. Like I would have done that. You want to get that game to within a score and let it play out.
Original Dark Mantonio, is this rivalry? Michigan is 7-3 in this rivalry. Michigan is 7-3 in the last 10 and won 4 in a row. The 4 in a row is what these high school recruits really know. You talking about what D'Antonio did might as well be ancient history to them. It's only relevant to fans' nostalgia.
Well, that's fair. Yeah, no, I agree. But so is what Bo did in the 30-8 record over 38 years. All this stuff ends quick. Like Jason and I love the bad boy Pistons, but the bad boy Pistons are like how we view Jerry West to half the.
Yeah, those kids don't know shit. They should be reading about the bad boy Pistons.
This is why when I was a kid, I used to tape on a VHS.
Porn.
We had Xfinity. Well, porn too, but like scrambled usually. But still, every Barry Sanders game. Because I remember my dad saying to me, like, I'd say, Barry Sanders is the best ever when I was like 11 years old. And he'd say, well, Jim Brown was pretty good. And I used to think, I don't want my Weasley little child someday to tell me that there's some running back who's better. Like, Jahmyr Gibbs is better than Barry Sanders. I don't want to hear it. And so I'm going to have all these VHS tapes. I didn't know DVDs were coming. I didn't know YouTube. Like, I didn't know it was going to be easy to find clips. So I would record every Lions game. I even
you didn't see the internet coming, dude. I just thought we were going to live the same way the whole time in VCRs and shit. You didn't see anything.
Well, we had the internet, but it was like dial up.
The laser disc blew my mind. I was like, oh man, we got good things coming.
I didn't see certain things coming. I even taped over. Like my mother had. She's still upset about this. I try not to remind her. Footage of me and my sister, very little. Like I'm like 4. My sister's like 1 or 2 and 5, and being cued on video. We didn't have a recorder, so we had very few videos of us, and I taped over half of them with Barry Sanders, like Vikings games in '95 against the Lions. Because
well, what's more important?
That's what
would you rather see right now? You guys have pictures, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'd rather see that Barry highlight.
Absolutely. That is a story almost worth telling, but told anyway. Presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing, and Midtown Brewing Company, an awesome place for a date night, trivia. Anything you may want to do. Plus, this Thursday, Twilight Trivia at Midtown Brewing Company, where if you're a fan of the movie Twilight and the Twilight series, good time to get a team together and test your knowledge. They have themed trivia every month, and they've done some cool ones. I'm still waiting for Les Mis trivia, but Midtown Brewing Company, downtown Lansing.
Jordan Villarreal next. I know we're all ready to move on, but I don't think the chance of Fire Smith in the first half are helpful. My takeaway. When we get a new coach, we all need to do better as a fan base, donors, administration, and everyone. We need to support where and when we should and put our money and faith where our mouth is. Yeah,
the Fire Smith stuff isn't helpful, but that's where things are.
Commercial breaks are so long.
Yeah, well,
you got to stay warm and chant something.
Got to get the band out there.
It's not our fault.
Do something. Yeah, no, I think. Look, this didn't work with Smith. It didn't. Could have it? Maybe. But people weren't on board. And people have to be on board. And so the next coach, you got to get somebody that people are going to like, and then people are going to have to stick with them and invest and try to make it go.
We have to?
Well, then you can just
comes in and shucks this thing. I mean, the next guy comes in and does the same shit. Get out of here.
Well, then you can live in this perpetual purgatory that sucks.
Hey, it's what we were given.
All right.
I don't want this. C. Telius Lord. Oh, man. MSU football is my weekly car crash. I can't help but watch. Not sure who or when this turns around.
Well, again, you may not see it coming. You get the right guy, it can happen. And
Franklin,
this is what J Batt's been hired for, is to get Michigan State a healthy football program, both financially and winning on the field, and with the entire athletic department. And it's a big job, and it's one you can't get wrong. And if you do, you don't get to keep that job, and that's what I think that's why Alan Haller is no longer.
Does Kid Rock have a kid that goes to state? Like, when did he become a state fan? Like, I'm not offended by it, but I mean, like, when did Kid Rock become a state fan? When I saw him with the green and white on, I was like,
he's just a Michigan guy,
I just didn't know if he had a kid. And they were kissing his ass for some donor money.
I don't know. Let me check. Does Kid Rock have a kid who goes to Michigan State?
And I ride,
Pound the bushes.
I ride through the city's backside. I see the stars come out of the sky. Yeah, they're bright in the hollow sky. It looks so good tonight.
No, Kid Rock's son is not a known. He graduated from Belmont University in Nashville. Importantly, still lives in Nashville. His name is Robert James Ritchie Jr.
Jesus, what's his address?
Soch. Yeah, I'll give that to you. Hold on, I like to dox people. That's my thing.
Really?
Yeah.
K, next. The year 2 win now expectation with MSU isn't about results. It's a projection from people still mad about how Haller handled the Smith hire. And bonus, strength and conditioning is the biggest issue with the easiest fix. What is it? What's the easiest fix?
Well, this change the strength and conditioning coach and to go in a different direction there. And it is some places. Look what happened. Do you see what the LSU Texas A&M deal was? LSU, one of the first things Brian Kelly did at LSU was get rid of LSU's strength and conditioning coach, who then went to Texas A&M that just freaking mauled LSU this week. And like that is, you got to be careful. That is an area. The 2-year win now expectation of MSU isn't about results. The projection of people still mad about how Haller handled the Smith hire. There are elements of that. It is unfair, and some of the expectation with them from people wanting to be involved was kind of childish. And look, there are elements of this that I don't like. There are. I mean, I feel like I just feel like there's some bullies at MSU that made this difficult. I don't love what's happened, but Smith has not earned more, and that's the issue.
Joey Shaver, MSU should make a quarterback change. The staff needs to see what they have, and there's an unlikely chance they're still around next year. And if not, at least there's tape for next coach to evaluate.
It's interesting because Jonathan Smith was asked about this today. I think you're going to get to a point where you need to at least look at Alessio, and I don't know where the locker room is on that. What's tricky is you just had a pretty good game with Chiles against Indiana where he completed 20 straight passes, and he wasn't great downfield, but he was pretty good. But 3 of the last 4 games, and a big reason they're in the spot they're in, he has not been very good. And at the very least, I think you're going to need a quick hook. And if you start Chiles next week and it's just not happening, by the second quarter, you should have Alessio in. And also, I think they were planning to play Alessio, according to the broadcast at least. And Smith was asked about this, and I think they thought they were going to play him at Indiana with planned series and see how things went. And then obviously Chiles came out and had a great game, and they were moving the ball, and so it was they didn't go with that. But if they're not moving the ball well and things don't look good in the passing game, I do think you'll see him this week.
Cooper next. Number 1, shout out Wings. 6 unanswered goals is great. 2, Chiles is cooked. Come on with some of the sacks and the fumble. Him and Smith can hit the bricks together. And 3, anything is better than this lifeless head coach. At least Rossi looked like he gave a shit. What an unserious program.
Yeah. It's just serious. I mean, it's his personality. He's not somebody who's going to be rah-rah. And that clearly is something that is, when you're losing, is going to drive people nuts. And it would be interesting.
Then why be a football coach? Be like an air traffic controller or something. Like, why do you have to be a football guy?
Well, because he wants to be a head coach. Yeah, I mean,
right.
This stuff doesn't matter if
nothing
you're
gets
winning.
you going though in a football game though at all. It's just weird.
It is different.
Yeah. Doc Sportello next. Number 1, there were listeners on this podcast that thought Aidan Chiles could go to the NFL. I'm cracking up in hindsight. Dude can't complete a pass. And 2, game came down to 1 play, and it was the fake flag on the offsides. Refs couldn't stand seeing scum get upset by a terrible MSU team, so they had to intervene. And 3, Scott Harris said all the right things at the end of the season press conference and won me back. Excited to see what moves the Tigers make this offseason, and I'm already counting down the days to spring training.
Two of these I want to get into. One,
is that a big take there? Scott Harris, he said all the right things. All right.
I'll be honest. I am all in on this offseason. I want to see this offseason. I'm as curious about the Tigers offseason as I have been in a long time.
Sure.
And so that's...
With the Scooble thing, it makes it interesting. But to say You watch the postseason presser, and we're like, oh, this guy's got it. I mean, I just thought
I'm not in or out on Scott Harris. I guess for that, I'm still willing to let him prove it.
That guy's definitely getting another year.
Scott Harris?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, he's getting a couple. I mean, he's tied to right. Right. And I don't think he's not – the Lions have had guys over time where they've gotten another year, and I thought, I'm already out on this guy. This isn't working. You know, we've known that. But this is a little different. The flag on that offsides call that changed the game, that wound up being it was a sack fumble that should have given Michigan State the ball at the 40-yard line and a 17, what was the score at that point? 10-7 or whatever it was. It was a competitive game. And then 10-7, and then Michigan goes down and scores. Jordan Hall gets hurt then. Now he's questionable for this week, which I think also hurts them at Minnesota. So a lot of things changed in that moment with that bad call. I'm not even mad at the call itself, because if you watch it in real time, I thought he was offsides. It's because of the way, it was Malcolm Bell, right? It was moving before the snap, but he was still behind the line of scrimmage. To me, any time there is a change of possession based on a player or a possession's not going to be changed, the play gets – you have to be able to review that. Like, we stop and start this game a million times. We have 55 minutes of freaking commercials, right? Like, we don't want more stops and starts, but we want that right. We'll take that. Cut to commercial if you have to. Get one of your commercials in. Let them review the freaking play. That, I'm sorry. There is zero excuse that shouldn't be fixed, like next week, next year. I don't want you near college football. I don't want you having a decision. If you don't think that can be fixed, people want to fire Jonathan Smith. There are a lot of people should be fired. You should not be around college football, around sports, around decisions. You should be doing manual labor that somebody tells you what to, and I'm not even knocking manual labor. It's honest work. I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying you shouldn't be making decisions in life if you don't think we can review that.
Munfield Keg. Rossi was faking the whole energy thing a bit, but it was the best our defenses looked. On the other side, I rewatched it this afternoon, and Smith seemed too concerned with the post-play flag and just totally ignored Chiles after his TD made it 10-7. That is not a coach I would want to play for.
Yeah, look, I don't know what else to say about it. People made their mind up. He's not coming back. He's just not. And I think it's inevitable. I think there are more reasons than just me saying that it's going to happen. And so it's you don't have
at Minnesota.
You don't have to worry about it.
Looking forward to that game this weekend. Arkan Spartan next. Chiles equals quarterback 1, Andrew Maxwell. Alessio equals quarterback 2, Connor Cook. Smith equals Corvallis to Nebraska's Mike Riley.
This is a good, interesting one, because I do think that they probably do need to take a look at Alessio in more situations and see what it looks like, and maybe that they need, based on this offensive line, that they absolutely need Chiles' legs to give them a shot. But Alessio gets the ball out quick. I'd be curious to watch him. And Corvallis, Nebraska's Mike Riley. You forget about that like Oregon State's had other guys who have moved on, and it just didn't work that well. The thing that sucks for Jonathan Smith is I don't think he wanted to move on. The conference changed underneath him. He lost his conference. They were becoming a mid-major. You work your life to be a high-major head coach, and he was going to go back and be a mid-major head coach, and that's a hard thing to swallow. And I think he thought at 45 years old, if he wanted to compete and compete at the highest level, he needed to take a job that fit him somewhere with a program he could win, and he thought Michigan State was it, and it just hasn't worked.
Matt Smith seems to have tied himself to Chiles for his offense. Hot take. We should have seen more linear progression from Alessio and a better identity on offense if they made a quarterback switch earlier in the season.
Yeah, I mean, he did. And this is going to happen other places, though, right? And this is the hard thing. You pay these guys a ton of money. What happens if the other guy is better? And how do you deal with that? And how do you recruit? And I think this is a tricky part in the pay-for-play world, and coaches are going to have to get beyond it. But he has tied himself to Smith, and ultimately it's going to be part of the reason he doesn't have a job.
But what do you do with a guy like Chiles that you're tied to? Like you said, it's like what kind of leash do you put him on if time after time? But then he'll throw in a game against Indiana where he has all those completions, and then against Michigan.
Correct.
So it's just tough to put Alessio in.
He had 3 really good games where it looked like he was ascending. Chiles did. And then he had 2 not very good games. And Alessio, frankly, wasn't great against UCLA either. That was the most he's played. And so then, you think, well, at Indiana, they're going to bring Alessio in for a bit. And then the guy completes 20 straight passes. And then they play a Michigan defense that just may be better than anybody we've seen. He's going to start. I think Chiles is going to start against Minnesota. I just think you'll see a quicker hook if there are issues and maybe some planned time for Alessio.
Moneybag, we all need to find someone that talks about us the way Graham talked about the offense scoring 13 points at Indiana. Bonus, the ref that threw the pass interference flag on Underwood's pass that landed at Case Hall should probably be suspended based on that play alone.
So this is the way I view 13 points against Indiana is the way I view life through the prism of wearing a Muskox flannel. You too can see 13 points at Indiana as just being glass half full. Everything's good because you look good, you feel good, you're comfortable, and things don't bother you as much. If you want to feel like that, go to gomuskox.com, use the promo code Peacock, and get $15 off a Muskox flannel. Peacock. Also, we will announce our winner of the contest on Thursday.
That's crazy.
For the Muskox flannel that I am paying for based on my winnings on the Cleveland Guardians winning the division. So we had some good submissions. Ugliest person versus the most needs a Muskox flannel. But even if you don't win, I would recommend going to gomuskox.com. This time of year, it is just so nice to have a Muskox flannel on. It's just different than other things. The durability, the comfort, the way you look. If you have 6 chins like me, bring it down to 2 chins. Muskox flannel can do that for you. GoMuskox.com.
Big John Hogg, number 1, Couch's piece on Smith was closer to an obituary than anything else. The sooner the Band-Aid is ripped off, the better. And 2, a few weeks ago, I said I had a wedding to go to and missed the game. There were no TVs, so I didn't watch. I didn't feel bad. Apathy is at an all-time high.
So, yeah, the question is with the apathy is, like, how does that matter? Like, does apathy versus anger, if apathy is truly where you are, and I believe fan bases that are more intense than Michigan State can get there too, like in Alabama or whatnot. But the question is, how much does apathy and the ability to have apathy for football at Michigan State hurt MSU football? Not even directly all the time, but just like this, there's not this constant yearning and constant anger and constant push to be great because, oh, wait a sec, hockey's really good. Oh, wait a sec, Izzo basketball started. And does that hurt MSU in the donor base, in other areas? I think it does have an effect on football.
Sparty Barb next. Number 1, Joe Rossi will finish the season as MSU's head football coach. 2, congratulations to MSU women's soccer for securing the number 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament. The Spartans will win the Big Ten tournament to secure a 3 seed in the NCAA. And 3, nice comeback win by the Red Wings last Saturday. Playoffs are bust. And bonus, thank you, MSU hockey, for bringing some joy to my otherwise depressing weekend. Another sweep. Let's go.
Sparty Barb sounds like somebody wearing a Muskox flannel. Just that rosy outlook on life. My guess is if a change is made in season, it's Courtney Hawkins. That's just based on what I think is going to happen. But Joe Rossi certainly could be Rossi and certainly made an impression last week for sure. MSU women's soccer. Number 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament, a brutally tough league, and they've stayed at the top. This is the tournament they haven't done well in. They got to do well in the Big Ten tournament to get the number of home games they'd really like to have in the NCAA tournament. So there's something to pay attention to going forward. We are going to take a really quick break, then many more of your takes. Couch in the Rube, our Monday show presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels.
Firekeeper's online casino and sportsbook is the site to play from your phone, tablet, or laptop. Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss. Plus, the college and pro hoops are red hot, and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with 1 awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at gomuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, our Monday show, presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. Go to gomuskox.com and use the promo code PEACOCK for $15 off a flannel purchase. Look, feel your best. Look, you'll notice the Muskox difference, and you'll be able to have your best fall in a Muskox. And no matter what's happening on the Michigan State football field, you will feel better, look better. Just like the MSU hockey team, which has a deal with Muskox. Look, I don't think that's a coincidence that MSU hockey is wearing Muskox and they're looking as good as they are. All right, back to your hot takes.
John Naughty next. Even Sharon Moore runs out with the trainers when a player gets hurt. We even had a guy go off on a stretcher this year, and Smith just stands there on a headset like a teenager stuck scrolling on their phone. He doesn't give a fuck like Spartans give a fuck. He's not one of us. He's not a Spartan. And bonus, I would have paid an extra $500 a month for streaming on what I call D'Antonio Plus. Uncensored live feed into whatever Coach D thinks in real time about all the bullshit the last 5 years.
Talk to Xfinity, see if we can get that pulled up. That would be a good way to get MSU fans to go with Xfinity. They pay $500. Well, Xfinity would give you a better deal than that, but to have the D'Antonio Plus channel during the game, I think would be interesting. I think like a real time, like almost like a Manning cast with D'Antonio's thoughts. I think even with any former players, you're starting to see more former players frustrated. I would love to have a former players, and at some point we'll get a former player or two on here and sort of give a sense of what.
Seibert, are we going to get him?
Siebert, maybe. Yeah, we'll see.
Wasn't he popping off? Yeah.
Yeah, there are a bunch of different. I mean, we'll maybe get a couple as changes are made or things start getting into November, because I do think these are what the program needs and what's important there. Now, look, times have changed since a lot of these guys were in the program, but there's a feel for what's important and what they're seeing and why it isn't working.
Skylar Verdon. I've been watching more hockey and less football for no particular reason relating to my team being bad. It's been nice. Hockey has a nice flow to it, and the Wings look fun. Finney is my favorite of the young Wings players.
It is fun to have the Wings. Like, I check in the morning, see the Wings are playing that night. It's fun to have them good.
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Red Wings Gambling Update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Lee.
Yeah. Got to play that.
No,
you wake up in the morning and play this.
Absolutely. Oh, my God. That would get me out of bed. You know what we're only a month
Let's try that.
You know what we're a month away from, by the way?
What? Getting dark at 5 in the afternoon?
Feliz Navidad Hoff is the Feliz Navidad is just the best Hoff.
It is great. Is that it?
Yeah.
Rich Searing next. Number 1, refs sucked, but coaching and offensive play sucked more. 2, I don't believe the people who say we have no talent. Marsh, Chiles, Hall, Van Summeren were 4-star recruits. There is some talent here, but not enough. And 3, I'm tired, Graham. I'm tired of the arrogance of our rivals, tired of the media defending them, and tired of us being punching bags of the Big Ten. Hire the guy from Georgia Tech, bring his entire staff and as many of those players as possible.
I don't know if I don't know how J Batt feels about Brent Key, and I obviously that's one name that's possible, but it's an easy connection to look at. this will be it's going to be a fascinating couple months. It really will be. And
so, what do you mean? You don't think Batt and Key have a?
I don't know it.
Or?
I don't know it. It's just not an automatic thing. I think sometimes we see like the previous. We see that makes sense because they knew so and so, or this is a connection here, and it may be the answer. I'm just not as sure about it.
Detroit Spartan best take: the economics of college football need to become more transparent. How can there be so much money in it and athletic departments be underwater at the same time? And Baked: I'm sad that I'm emotionally detaching from something I've loved my entire life. And bonus: I had basically built part of my identity around this, and now I'm dead inside.
You know that feeling.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
It wasn't too long ago as a Lions fan.
I do think
2021.
This goes beyond just MSU losing here. I think, and I do think it's a danger for college football because I think there are a lot of frustrated fan bases out there. And I don't think leaders at college football see it. I don't think they do. And I think we probably need new leadership. I think Jason and I need to be in charge of it.
Do you think that they see it and just don't care? I can't imagine they don't see it.
I'm not
really.
I'm not sure they see it. I'm not sure they're at the bird's eye level of because what I think people struggle with is how fans of a program like who's a program Maryland or not Maryland because they're in but how fans of Virginia Tech feel has to matter to the SEC even though they're not in the SEC. Like all that stuff matters. The overall health of the sport matters. There are not enough eyeballs if people detach to only have it work. I mean, to only have a few fan bases really engaged and only have fan bases of a couple conferences engaged. It just won't work. The money will not be there. Oh, by the way, I should correct something too. I screwed something up the other week last week when I was talking about the media rights deal extending if they went with this deal with private equity. It sounds like that's the grant of rights. It's not necessarily an automatic media rights extension. It's the grant of rights deal which keeps the Big Ten together. It is not the media rights deal, and so I apologize for that.
Did you have that on a Post-it note somewhere, or that just popped in your brain?
It popped into my brain because I had been a loyal listener of ours brought it to my attention that I had fucked that up, like I do many things.
Sam Fishman, I'm so proud of you for not saying their name and where they live. And where they
nearly did. I have their address written down here.
I thought you were going to.
Yeah, ring the side door when you go. Ring the side door.
Sam Fishman, I think a big problem college football is facing right now is fans completely checking out midway through the season or even earlier if their team isn't good. And I don't just mean checking out their team. I mean losing interest in college football altogether. And personally, I haven't watched a college football game since week 6, and I know I can't be the only one.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want too many teams that just feel like there's no hope. And this is what's interesting. Like the playoff being at 12 teams does create maybe at this time of year 30 teams that still think they have a chance to get there. And so there are more engaged teams than in the old days of the 4-team playoff. But when it was a 4-team playoff, you had different teams with different goals, getting to different bowl games. And now, if you're outside of the playoff, you're just outside. And I do think it'll be interesting to watch because it creates more interest for me in the sport overall. But I can see how, from an individual fan base perspective, and I just think there are a lot of unhappy fan bases and they got to find, look, that's always going to be the case to some degree, but you just got to make sure that people are staying engaged. And this isn't every year that everybody feels like, there's no hope and to this degree.
Professor next, if MSU had hired Urban 3 years ago, the team would be led by Sam Levitt and have a healthy NIL budget for offensive and defensive line talent. Those two factors alone would double their win total in the last 2 seasons. And Baked, football is rigged to push big matchups and ensure best TV ratings in December.
I think there's no doubt that Urban Meyer at this point would have been a stronger hire, and I don't know whether he would have taken the job or not. But Sam Levitt certainly would have been a stronger quarterback, and that is no doubt.
DD next. Jonathan Smith will be retained regardless of what he or the team does this season because MSU can't or won't compete with any of the other high-profile openings this cycle. Then MSU will go 4-8 again in 26. Smith will get fired and then hit major success at his next stop.
I don't think Smith is done as a coach. He's 45, 46 years old. But and I think he'll get another shot somewhere. He may have to go somewhere as a coordinator first, or he may, who knows. Maybe there's a head coaching position that feels like a fit, and he'll get an opportunity. He'll have to sell himself a little bit to that.
Fair State.
No, but here's what if I'm an out west school, and I've got a program that's been struggling, and I also recognize that Michigan State is going to pay a lot of salary for him, I can probably get Jonathan Smith a little less expensively for the next 5 years. Let Michigan State pay a lot of that salary and put that into the program. If I'm Cal or, I don't think the Washington job was brought up earlier. I don't think that's likely, but maybe Oregon State. I don't know all the dynamics there. I know they weren't happy with him when he left. But I don't think he's done. And I don't think he's a bad coach. He just hasn't been a good coach at Michigan State, and I didn't see that coming. I thought he would bring competence to that job, and it would really show. And that hasn't happened, and that's where I was really wrong.
Dave Lakin next. Even with a few good hires, Alan Haller's legacy as MSU AD will be based upon the hiring Jonathan Smith and not implementing a comprehensive NIL plan for MSU. Hopefully, J Batt will address both before the end of this football season.
I think Alan Haller's legacy will be complicated. I think you're right that ultimately people remember the Jonathan Smith hire, that it didn't work out, and that he was unable to get, at a tricky time of transition in college athletics, was unable to get MSU in the position it needed to be in. But I also think because Alan Haller is who he was to MSU, he is somebody who was a Spartan, had been part of the Mark D'Antonio search, part of the Mel Tucker search. He had, did the Adam Nightingale hire. He's Robin Freilich was hired by him, made 2 volleyball coaching hires. That people will also remember that. It's not and he never really, he thought it was all up to football. I don't believe people will remember that entirely. I think Alan Haller will be somebody who is, when he's at a basketball game 10 years from now and they announce his name and the camera cuts to him and he waves, people will applaud. I do. I think people liked Alan Haller personally. I think some people think he got a raw deal. Ultimately, I think Guskowitz, it was his right and probably the right move to make a move before MSU fell behind, because even if some of that was based on donors not being childish or whatever it might be, ultimately you have to live in their world. You have to convince them to fund the athletic department at the level it takes, and Haller wasn't able to do that with them. But I think his legacy would be more complicated than that.
Spartan Dog, Alan Haller is the second worst employee Michigan State has ever had.
I think I know who the first is. That's not fair. That's not cool.
He got it! Will Tiemann?
No.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for all of that.
No. There was a certain doctor who took MSU down some pretty deep, dark places.
He was considered an employee. Oh, that's right. He wasn't an employee.
Yeah.
Oh,
not great. Not great.
Yes, God, I keep forgetting about that guy. Matty B. Number 1, if there is not a clear, publicly known NIL strategy to MSU fans by the winter portal, Batt can go to. Olympic arenas can wait. That should be priority number 1. Keep waiting on legislation while our government can't even keep the lights on. Not a strategy. And 2, there is not a single MSU fan in the world who wouldn't have taken a 15-yard penalty to see Smith throw a headset at that garbage called officiating. Batt should give the conference an earful. No more bending over or just taking it, even though our media always tells us to.
That was what I was going to put on my chest, or have maybe a tattoo that said, just take it.
This is the media.
What did we tell you? What did we tell you? Come here and take it. Let's go.
Oh, that's my favorite sounder.
You ever seen that? It was the episode of Modern Family. You ever watch Modern Family? Oh, Phil Dunphy, the dad character, is talking about getting a tattoo, and he's talking about getting one on his lower back, and everything he comes up with is just awful. It'd be like things like, just take it, like you can't.
With an arrow.
Oh, it's just brutal. Just brutal. That's
Modern Family was it. It's a good show. If you're a funny show that's on cable network TV, it's like that's an impressive thing to me.
It's well done.
It's good writing if you can be somewhat funny on that.
Yeah, anyway. It's well done. That is a story we're telling. Well, not really we're telling, but I told it anyway, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company. And if you're looking for a beer right now, an American Stout is one of my favorites, and they have terrific beers on tap. It's a great vibe and a great menu. Their chef does a great job there. Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing.
Good job, chef. Search for oil next. Jonathan Smith is the worst coach since Muddy Waters. If he goes 3-9 and gets canned this year, he will be worse. I think I know how old Search for Oil is.
Does Bobby Williams fall into that category? I don't know.
Tim. Number 1 was at the game as a Michigan fan. The atmosphere was less intense than a random Lions 1 p.m. game, and that's no hyperbole. Saying MSU isn't a rival to annoy them is actually becoming a reality. The game never felt like it was high stakes. Also, you guys need to add TVs to your concourse. 2, following the profile pics being changed throughout the game was like watching real-time stock in the program tanking, LOL. I'm more embarrassed for MSU fans doing that than when I was when their coach got caught cranking his hog to a sexual assault victim.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for all of that.
Tim.
I did have a MSU fan come up to me before the game and say, "Do you believe, Graham? Do you believe?" I said, I believe anything can happen. That's as far as I was willing to go.
Was it Chad Latz?
It was not Chad Latz. If it had been Chad Latz, I would have led with that today. That would have been a story worth telling, presented by Midtown Brewing Company. But the
do you believe?
Yeah, no. So I think part of it too was this wasn't a high stakes game for Michigan in the same way too. Not that they don't still have a lot at stake, but it wasn't This is one of their best teams. Not a classic game. But I agree with you. I mean, Michigan State is not. It's been a few years now, and it's. Now, it doesn't take but 1 year for that to switch and flip back and feel different. But right now, it feels how it feels.
Ralph E., this feeling in my gut isn't new. Stout announced Duffy's retirement, and we kissed our underdog sister Iowa the next day. Probation. AD moves west and takes his coach with him. Muddy waters in year 3. George flirted with the pros, being AD. CMU might have done him in. Nick Saban, McPherson, LSU. Have you lost the team? John L. Smith head slap. Nasser. 9/10/2023. Ooh, 1 day off. The guy who put 100 worms on a fishing hook, a masturbator, comes to light, so to speak. The play calls have iced it. And bonus, 3 Sunday podcasts, 1 common word. Basketball. None discussed deeply, just basketball.
I think people are starting to turn to basketball a little bit, but that's also part of football's issues. Like, this is MSU is the D'Antonio era is the anomaly, right? And he was around for a while, so it was quite an anomaly. But they've got to, a lot of the issues they've had, they've got to find a way to find their next D'Antonio. And that's what Alan Haller was trying to do. That's what he did with Jonathan Smith. The execution you can fault, that it didn't work you can fault. What he was trying to do was absolutely, I think his heart was in the right place.
C-Dubs 91. Number 1, Smith is pressing to win, so he's overanalyzing every call, which makes you worse in almost every sports situation. Would also explain his clunky-sounding answers and pressers, too. And 2, Michigan sports Twitter is full of weirdos and borderline cult members.
I think I think most major college football programs have this to a degree, though, because what you have is you have more of these sites that are, they're fan sites, but they're offshoots of a program. Like they're not people who are in the media because they're in media. They're in media because they're fans, and this gives them access and allows them. This is a hobby that some have turned into a full-time deal. But and Michigan is a big program with a lot of that, and certainly there are other dynamics at play. So, yeah, I mean, you're gonna find that, and Michigan State, to be fair, is not completely devoid of this.
There's unhinged MFers everywhere on Twitter.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Just name the topic. David Parks next. Was at the game Saturday with a friend with no understanding of the TV plus college football landscape. About halfway through, even he was confused and made a comment about the amount of 3-minute timeouts there were. And bonus, are dynamic quarterbacks overrated? Does Alessio make better reads since he doesn't run?
Well, there's an argument, and I've said this before. If I was coaching high school football with an athletic quarterback, I would not let them run till the fourth quarter past the line of scrimmage, because I just think you need to learn your first instinct to throw and to read, and I don't think it helps you to be athletic in that sense. Now, it helps you later if you can also, if your first instinct is to pass and keep your eyes downfield. Alessio's done a better job at getting the ball out quickly. There's no question about it.
Uper Carl, inspired by Graham's 1990s college football comparison, I revisited recordings from a favorite podcast. Many claimed keeping those recordings had no value, but how wrong they are. Today's version kicks off 5 minutes late, buried beneath a barrage of commerce. Then comes the endless live reads and sponsor mentions, driving the show to ad ratio down by over 25%. Finally, the host's fading memory leaves me hearing more Hasselhoff than Kit ever endured. Maybe it's time we stop fixating on football commercials and address their other travesty. Crying, laughing emojis apparently.
That take from you, Carl, is presented by Halo Sport, by the way. Appreciate you.
Rest in peace, Halo Sport.
Appreciate you, Carl.
Yeah. Dale, let's take an honest look at the unsportsmanlike penalties. 1 or 2 might have been earned, but what did Andrew Dennis do wrong on that touchdown play? Let's discuss it honestly. And then bring in guys that will never draw flags, but instead win games.
There were some calls. I mean, the big call though is still it's that offsides call that you have to be able to fix that in real time because it changed the game. And I don't know if it changed the outcome, but it changed the game.
BPA, Couch can have a passing interaction with someone and pretty much destroy their career, yet he spends so much time around Jonathan Smith, and now it won't work. Really makes you think.
Thanks, BPA. That is the most entertaining.
How is the elevator operator?
He was there.
Yeah?
He was there. Yeah. No, it was there.
Did you guys make eye contact?
No,
did you apologize?
I did not run into him, but somebody said he was there. He was not on my elevator. Yeah, on the way up or down. So it
was a he.
Or she. Or it.
Right.
Could have been Spot the Cat.
They ignored you.
Appreciate you, BPA. That is a Muskox take of the day right there. Thank you.
Was your elevator operator making any jokes, or were they pretty much looking straight forward and not talking because they were told to not talk to anybody anymore?
Actually, it was just Kid Rock was the elevator. He was making jokes about the R word and Hitler.
The R word. Uncle Tifa next, huh? Smith reminds me of a recent former Pistons head coach, Monty Williams. Both coaches just wanted to go home. Same results, quiet quitting.
Monty Williams turned down the job like 7 times, and they just kept throwing more money at him. I think that's the difference. This is a little bit different here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Balky Bartakamis. The meaning of accountability has shifted so much over the last decade that now so long as you admit you're not good enough, that you need to prepare better and execute better, acknowledge that you've continued to fail week after week, it absolves you from any consequences. And fans aren't allowed to be upset by these failures because, hey, he's taking accountability. What more do you want? This isn't unique to sports. It happens in business, politics, and education. Accepting blame is not the same as being held accountable. And bonus. Mel Tucker was definitely at those rigged poker games, right? Probably lost a couple mil to Chauncey and his X-ray specs.
So Mel Tucker is part of this too. The accountability world, all these coaches say you own something. Do you own it? Do you own this? You got to own it. You own it. If you own it, you're fine.
What accent is that?
I don't know. It's my Mel Tucker. Is that not Mel Tucker?
Oh wow, that was Mel.
That was anybody. It's a coach. It's a Mel.
We don't have enough time for all of that.
It's canceled
anyway. Yeah, but if we haven't been canceled to this point,
that's true.
Anyway. I do think you're onto something here. That there is, but being accountable is better than not being accountable and not being defensive. And now the better solution is to not continue making the mistakes. Accountability works once. It works here and there. But also when you're the head coach of a team, and it's not, you can't control all the mistakes from not being made, right? There's a lot of other guys, and you've got a team that's full of people making mistakes. I mean, all you can do sometimes is be accountable. That said, Jonathan Smith's made a fair number of mistakes himself, or we wouldn't be in this spot.
Scotty Green's El Camino, number 1, as I write this as Sunday at 5 p.m. Smith is still the coach. Why? He's lost the fans, the former players, and most importantly, the local columnist and Magic Johnson. I'm still not convinced he wants to be here. If he did, I'd at least expect arguing on bad calls or showing some emotion on the sideline. And 2, I'm also a little pissed that players' parents feel the need to respond on social media like we're all piling on their sons. Most are not. In fact, we feel bad for your sons. They deserve a coach who can figure out how to win with what he has. Don't blame any of them leaving.
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff that gets a little nasty with players here and there, but I think people understand their limitations. People want a better team. Some of those guys just aren't good enough. Some are, or some are, still developing and too young. Whatever. I understand it though from a parent's perspective, because all this feels personal if you're in their shoes. It feels personal if you're in Jonathan Smith's shoes, and that's why I've been impressed with the lack of defensiveness. Because if I were in his shoes, I would probably be a little. Now I would be better at handling certain things. you'd feel the emotion of it with me. I would be better at explaining things. I'd be very transparent. I'd be like, listen, let me tell you about Matt Ishbia and the check I didn't get.
Ooh.
I'd be things like that. I'd be much more.
That would show emotion.
Right. I'd be different.
Get people on your side.
Yeah. Yeah. But, then again, I'd also.
Ishbia would have you fired, but, hey.
The problem you'd have with me is you'd give me like, $15 million for the roster, and I'd spend it all on the Lansing Promise, and then there'd be no football team. So there'd be other issues. But,
David Jackson.
Your side.
Just fucking Lansing Promise. I wanted Smith to succeed, but his failure to make his team play with discipline and his stupid decisions to go for 2 and issue field goals twice made 0 sense and make me wonder about his actual football acumen. Of course, having game officials on the take doesn't help. And bonus, in the end, my respect for Brian Kelly increased tenfold.
Wow.
Per an article in The Athletic by Bruce Feldman and Ralph Russo, the AD ordered Kelly to fire his offensive coordinator. When Kelly refused to scapegoat his assistant, that's when he was fired.
I thought I read that Kelly was willing to do it and get rid of the offensive line coach.
Does not sound like Brian Kelly at all, David. You sure you read? We need to read that.
Yeah, I don't know. The other problem with the Bruce Feldman report is Bruce Feldman, depending on.
He's a penis.
Well, I'm not saying he's a penis.
I'll say it. Sorry.
But certainly the amount MSU was on the hook for a while for Mel Tucker may have been directly related to his LSU report with which an agent, anyway, what it is. But I'm not, like, Brian Kelly at one point, covered him when I was in Kalamazoo at Western Michigan when he was still at Central. Covered his first game at Cincinnati in the International Bowl on January 7th, 2007, when Western Michigan played Cincinnati when he took over for D'Antonio. He was great. He was fun to deal with. He was, and I'm not saying he can't turn on a personality that can be engaging. I'm not saying at one point he wasn't a really good football coach. I think he's done. And I just don't think he's got too much baggage too. You can do better if you're Michigan State.
Matt Boone, number 1, I am impressed by Jonathan Smith not showing emotion to the media. He has little donor support, not loved by the fans. Media is writing he should be gone and having a 5-game losing streak, all by double digits. Most would have a meltdown or some type of reaction, but not John Awshuck Smith. And 2, hiring Max Bulla as the next coach could be something that really improves the vibes from all levels of the fan base. I think donors and a bunch could rally around. As long as he finds a good staff to come with him, I think he could really be a good head of the table.
Max Bullock could be a great head coach at some point. He could be a good head coach now. I just, again, why do we think that? Because he's Max Bullock and he was a Spartan and he was a great leader at Michigan, and he's a linebackers coach at Notre Dame, which is a successful program. Yeah. Maybe. But again, that's
everything you just mentioned.
Yeah, those are good things.
That was a good pitch, actually. I'm like more inspired now.
Yeah, I'm not
Max Bullock.
Not sure he's ready, and you want him. If you're making that hire, you have to make sure he's ready. And I'm not saying he's not ready. I'm just saying that nobody making the pitch for Bullock knows he's ready.
You're not saying he's not ready, but you're not saying he's ready. Are you saying this could go either way? Is that what you're saying? Is that what we're going to do?
With anybody, with anything in life, it could go either way.
Oh, no. Kurt Wisniewski, would you give us 28 reasons why Smith is still the coach of MSU this morning? You should really do that. That would be great. This coaching staff should be cleaving Mac troughs. Cleaning Mac troughs versus being on the sideline on Saturdays. Whatever AI thing you use to put these together is ass.
No, I
don't know what it does with all the punctuation.
Well, hold on.
Up and down cap.
What does cleaving mean? Is it a word? It must be a word.
Cleaning Mac.
No, it's spit or something, especially in a long. It is a word. I don't know if it was a mistake on. Wisniewski's usually really good with grammar. I know our readers at this point. I know whose stuff I have to clean up and who don't. There are some of these that you would not even.
I wasn't talking about Kurt. I was talking about when you put it into your little.
Oh, I see.
However you move them around. I was not blaming Kurt. I was blaming your
simple copy paste. Yeah, simple copy paste. Sometimes there's an autocorrect that fucks us. But
all right, Lucas next. It's clear that Batt is letting Smith ride out the year, right? Unless Minnesota goes just so horribly that you have to make a move.
I think that's what it probably is. And I don't know what that looks like in Minnesota, but I do think it's one of those things you know when you see. If it's going to happen before the end of the season, it's going to happen after the next game.
Cover that spread. Eric Larson, can we pivot 100% on to MSU hoops now? The only thing worth talking about with the football team is if they can't find a donor to buy out Smith, nothing else is interesting. No storylines, apathy level 11 out of 10.
And this is why you have MSU football the way it is, though, because other places, like, it doesn't stop. Basketball, they're like, I don't care that it's starting. We got to fix this football program year-round. Now,
I don't have Tom Izzo, though.
I think that's a horrible way to live. Right. I think this is a better way to live. I'm not saying it's not a better way to live. I just think this is the side of it that's tricky because, you know what, your donors may feel that way. They got to take care of Izzo. They got to make, this is again, everybody realizes, I think, at MSU who's in a position of power that football has to be healthy for MSU athletics to be healthy. But that when you get distracted in November by, wait, MSU basketball's at UConn Tuesday night, all this stuff, it's great. And I look, Larson's Eric's great dude. Eric's a basketball guy. Does a great job on the Final Four is not on the schedule podcast. But this apathy that you see and this ability to shift gears that a lot of places don't have, I think in a small way over the years and years is hurt MSU. Michigan doesn't deal with this. They care about basketball. They turn around. Michigan basketball's doing great. They're in. But outside of some people, it's football all the time.
Christopher Wilson, the issue isn't that coaches tank. It's that large buyouts can alter incentive structures. If a $30 million safety net removes failure risk, the competitive edge that drives elite performance can erode. It's system-level design flaw, not an individual failing. We need more research.
That's interesting point. It'll be interesting to see where this all goes in the next 5 years because I do agree that like the buyouts the way they are now don't work. But if you're in a competitive landscape, how do you avoid them? Then again, if you're hiring Max Bulla, he may not take much of a buyout. So I do believe it is a flaw, and there has to be the whole structure of how much coaches make. Because a coach is still important. People say, well, they're less important. A coach is really still important. We see that right now. It's not working with Jonathan Smith. That's a coaching situation, right? The coach still matters. You just got to get the right one. But they still have the market. They still have leverage.
Steve, hypothetically, better MSU fit, Brian Kelly or James Franklin?
James Franklin by a mile, I think. Yeah. I've not heard one. I mean, he's younger by quite a bit. I think he's got an edge to him, still something to prove. I think Kelly's toast. I'm not saying both don't have some questions about them, but I would, if you made me make that choice, I'd take James Franklin 100 times out of 100.
Yeah. Dino Spumoni. Brian Kelly would be best and most realistic hire in this cycle for MSU. Franklin, home run, but will compete versus FSU, LSU, and Florida. Syracuse head coach is a dark horse, and PJ Fleck name will pop up. Tough spot for the AD. Maybe he punts this a year to get ducks in a row. And from Gunth, Brian Kelly's firing is perfect timing for MSU. There was no other high-profile hire out there that fit, and I'm wary of trying to find the next Signetti. Bring him back to the state and baked. Replace Chiles and Alessio and find out if he's the next Kirk Cousins.
A lot of 2008, 2006 dreams going on here. I just don't see it with Brian Kelly. I think he's mid-60s, right? I just think he's done. There are reports at LSU that he was not as engaged as he should have been. Like, what's going to change that? Another massive paycheck? That's what it would probably cost. I think Franklin, for example, is in a different place. I think he still wants to prove something. He's a lot younger. I would, if you're talking between those two, Brian Kelly would have been an interesting hire a long time ago. I don't think he is anymore.
Bill Hoffmeyer next. I think Billy Napier would be a massive upgrade for MSU football. Not having the toughest schedule in the country 2 years in a row wouldn't hurt his chances. I don't think he could win enough things, but he would put us back in the 7-8 wins a year category. And note, that's not enough for me. I'm actually looking for someone like Pat Narduzzi with Max Bulla as DC. Bring in some former Spartans in key coaching spots. Hashtag serious this time. And lastly, I don't like old retreads for the most part. Old white dudes like Brian Kelly are a no-go. Narduzzi gets a pass because he was successful here. There are some younger guys with real skills. But I do fear the Sunbelt Billy situation where they can't make the jump.
Well, that's the Kurt Signetti situation. That's the AD's job. That's the hire. That's the job, is to find that person. And that's to find the fit, to find somebody with the acumen, to find somebody who's the right leader at the right time. And that's why you make the J Batt hire. And that's his job now. And you also have to, your president is in on this too. I mean, they've got to get this right.
Shadow Boots next. Give Izzo the football program. Move Rossi to interim head coach. Then Izzo can retire from basketball after this season and transition to coaching football. He may not have the CV as a football coach. What's CV? But he certainly would have huge support from the fan base and donors. Maybe he brings Mariucci with him.
When I don't change the abbreviation, it means I don't know either. So that's usually what happens. A couple things here. Then you've got a losing basketball program and a losing football program, which doesn't help anybody. You keep Izzo coaching basketball if you're Michigan State as long as you possibly can. And I know that's something that was Izzo's dream at one point, or at least he considered it probably more strongly than people were aware. But Mariucci has been out of the game forever. This is not the move. Izzo to the football program with Mariucci is not the move.
Joseph David, the big schools, Penn State, Florida, LSU, will be chasing the big-name coaches. This will give us an opportunity to find an up-and-comer from a lower level, if we can identify him. Looking for a guy who can hire a great staff? Smith did not. Will be about 100% turnover of his players.
I do think somebody who not only hires a great staff, because I think this is a good staff now, I just think somebody who can really be a presence and oversee a program and lead and I think that's more important than and maybe that's maybe that is a Max Bulla, but and maybe it can be a first-time head coach, but that's a tricky job, and it takes a certain set of skills, as Liam Neeson would say. Neurotic pants. Number one, an impatient fan base could hurt MSU's program more. Maybe we should just stop watching plants grow for a few years. And two, Sheehan is right. Right, though, what evidence do we have that anything is improving? And three, I understand Graham used to cover the Western Michigan Broncos, who have a football team as well. Yeah, I'm not sure Michigan State wins that game against Western if they were to play now this week. Western's had an okay year. I get it. Impatience is not great, and impatience is going to be there, and it's impatience is part of the problem. But as you said at number two, there isn't evidence that anything is improving, and maybe it's too quick to. It's just it should look different than this, and I think that's fair. And but yeah, the impatience is definitely a tricky dynamic here. Jay Riemenschneider, Alabama hasn't had a losing season in 20 years. Georgia has one losing season in 30, and Ohio State hasn't had a losing season since '88. You'll lose that muskox bet, so I'll take mine in large. We can meet up, or I'll just send you my address. The idea here was that every school is going to go through this at some point. Even the powers. You're going to see Alabama have a 4-8 year. Certainly, we've seen it with Florida State a lot. But I think this is new. I understand the history, but the landscape has changed so much. Really, only the last four years maybe really matters. And I'm not saying it's going to happen all the time, or it's more likely to happen. But there will be down years for everybody. Maybe it doesn't happen until Kirby Smart's done, or maybe it doesn't happen. But it's going to happen more often in college sport. It's going to year to year. It's going to be tough to get it right. Matt C. Number one, I was at the game and I never thought I'd see the day MSU football was so dead. Michigan fans weren't even being obnoxious. Well, it's such a joke now. We all chanted Jared Goff together at one point. Two, Jonathan Smith is coaching to get fired, and the lack of effort from the players is noticeable live. On defense, they don't fight to get off blocks. I noticed Marsh jogging on routes, and Aidan is playing like he had the under on his own passing yards. Excuse me. Three, every day J Batt keeps Smith employed is a signal to donors that MSU is not serious about football, and they should stop donating immediately. But they aren't. I mean, he's trying to get them to donate. I don't think that's at all it. I think every day he's trying to get this right, and he's trying to be sure that they get the timing right, and they have the. I don't think that has. I just don't read it like that. This is not J Batt not being serious. This is J Batt being like he's got to do it faster than he wanted to, and trying to make sure they're set up to get this right when they do it, and to make sure it's right for the program if they do it before the end of the season, which I don't think is obvious. Mojo Jojo making fans hot take. Narduzzi, head coach. Bulla, defensive coordinator. Hawkins, offensive coordinator, and Cousins, quarterback coach, and Denard, defensive back coach. Baked, I will pay $1,000 and can send the receipt to Jason's nonprofit of choice for a Ted Lasso episode by episode debrief on season 1 during the post-March Madness pre-football season, audited and confirmed by T.
If you want to pay me $1,000 to watch that shit, I'll watch it in a weekend.
For your charity of choice, not for you.
That is my charity of choice.
The Human Fund.
Yeah. The fuck you talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll break $200 off for somebody.
We'll break it down. There you go. 800 to Jason, 200 for somebody.
I'll watch it in a weekend.
Yeah.
How many episodes?
Well, he's saying season 1, so it's probably 10 or 12. I can't remember.
I could do that in a weekend.
Yeah, you can handle it. Yeah, it's good for season 1.
I'll write up. Yep.
Yeah.
Graham and Ito Couch, number 1, Graham's favorite Southern Swamp hot take. Nick Marsh is going to be amazing for Georgia next year, whereas Aidan Chiles will have a hard time living up to Trinidad Chamblis. In naming yards at Ole Miss. And bonus, Ed Ogeron and Florida have the chance to do the funniest thing.
Ed O, I think he's probably done coaching too, but because that guy was done coaching.
He's not. Can we get him here?
Well, he was done coaching after he won a national title. He stopped trying at LSU. I can't imagine he's going to.
I know, but now you can do all the stuff he was doing back then. It's legal now. Like, man.
He would be fun to listen to. It'd be hard to get on your transcription software. It'd be like, it'd just break. Like if you were using Otter or something like that to transcribe press conferences, it'd be like, okay.
I mean,
Jason, do you think that Bill Beekman.
I mean, the man of many voices here. Bartholomew next. Every time Smith talks post-game, he sounds like he's reading a script from Friday Night Lights. Low ego, high output was good, but that guy's long gone. At least Captain Cockholster had horseshit coach and keep chopping. What the fuck? Do you read these?
I'm sorry. Yeah. What do I want to do with that?
Captain Cockholster.
Yeah, he's calling Mel Tucker Captain Cockholster.
Keep chopping.
Yeah.
Jeez, family show.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we do need
family
to clean it up a little
podcast,
bit. Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
TC Brunsey. For the first time ever, I did not watch a single play of the MSU Michigan game. The outcome was complete before the game began and was as predictable as Tuck breaking a sweat. Those who did watch must think Lucy will let them kick the ball next time.
Yeah, still, people want to watch. You only get 12 of these a year. You only get one MSU Michigan game. You never know, right? I get it. I get why people want to watch. And it's the car crash for some people. It's the hope. It's the tradition. It's what you do. And I understand that.
Couch on fire. Bad coaching, bad execution, bad quarterback, bad refs, bad contract, bad look, and bad karma. At least LSU knows when to cut the cord. Bonus. We were told it was because of vacation and game coverage, but I've learned you two took 3 shows off because of load management.
Right. Yeah. Trying to.
Yeah. Fuck, I didn't even take a load off. I mean, it was just like a vacation. I mean,
drop a load, you mean?
Oh, come on. You know what, man?
Sorry. All right,
Jesus,
sorry.
Yeah.
I was just trying to work that in. I didn't know how to
end
do
the
it.
show.
Yeah, that's right.
So gross. Anyway, Troy Hunter. Assuming Smith will be called into J Batt's office for a quick meeting today, who are the candidates? I say Brent Key, PJ Fleck, Pat Fitzgerald, and Bob Chesney.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I'm starting to do is piece together possibilities. I think Pat Fitzgerald is one of those names that I would find intriguing. But again, the coach is still there, body's still warm, so to speak.
So it's a couch top 5 list. Your personal favorites.
Well, no, but there'll be a mix of like guys I would include in guys because there are people who I would say Fitzgerald is not somebody who's unintriguing to people who matter.
Jason Akins, here is my daughter goes to Vanderbilt, and I went to their game this weekend against Mizzou. Hot takes. Vandy has a real 1996 Northwestern vibe going on right now. They serve beer in the stadium event to the students who are over 21. This would have been a disaster when I was a student at MSU in the 90s, and Vandy football is fun right now. MSU football is not.
Vandy football is a lot of fun, and it's a good story, and it's the reason that Vandy football is an example of how different the sport is in the NIL era and what you can be capable of doing. And they identified this. They knew this was here, and they said this is our moment, and they've done it.
Lions reply guy. Couch, you say for big interviews like Izzo, you'd have to go through the LSJ first and not the show. What about Lions interviews? If one of your boys like Colton Pouncey was able to get Dan Campbell for the show, could you do it, or would LSJ still get the first priority?
No, we could have Dan Campbell on. I don't cover the Lions, but the Colton Pouncey, who works for The Athletic, if he gets a one-on-one with Dan Campbell, is not going to say, you know what, instead, I'd like you to do this with the Couch in the Room. But if Colton wants
even
to do
for his own podcast, would Dan Campbell go on his pod?
I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, but he would definitely do Colton's before ours. Yeah.
Ryan Rockwell. Build the D'Antonio statue and fuck anyone who continues to blame him for the current state of the program. Too much has changed in college ball the last 5 years to keep crying about how he left. He was the best we ever had and maybe ever will. And bonus, Big Gretch is kind of hot, like in a teacher-librarian way. Oh, not a governor way? I mean, what do you mean? James Blanchard wasn't hot for you, Ryan? Of course, in a librarian way.
James Blanchard was a good-looking man. My dad was once confused for James Blanchard. My dad was walking downtown in front of the Capitol. He worked for the House Analysis section. He was the editor of the Bill Analysis section. But this is back when Blanchard was the governor, and somebody thought my dad was Blanchard, asked for his autograph, and he signed James Blanchard to it. So that was a story we're telling, presented by Midtown Brewing Company, a place you may run into James Blanchard or Gretchen Whitmer or whoever you want, maybe me or Jason in downtown Lansing, Midtown Brewing Company.
Go Boner next. He says, it's Go Boner, not that hard, Jay. Who the fuck are you? You don't fucking know me, Jay. I could deal with Graham's BS vacation fucking up shows, but Jay's constant bemoaning when there's a long tweet has to be read, followed by one of his shitty stories. Makes me think you guys lost the plot. We produce this show. MSU has me dead inside. I know you sound like a fucking baby.
Yeah.
MSU must have you dead inside.
You sound like one of MSU's donors.
And by the way, I don't moan about the long tweet penis. It's about when you preface it with, oh, this is a pretty long tweet. Just get into it. Like, I don't even need to hear that. That was my point. I don't mind reading these. Go Boner. Hans Jurgen. Number 1, Go Blow isn't any good. We lost because we're just worse. And 2, Sharon Moore is a clown. And 3, unless you have Jim Brown in your backfield, no one is going to buy your play action on 4th and 3. And why are you throwing it short of the sticks anyway? Yeah. And bonus, in one final desperate act, Smith should start Alessio against Minnesota. The other players seems to like him, and he gets the ball out quicker. Chiles, which is needed with this offensive line.
I think it would be probably a mistake this season not to see what Alessio looks like, especially if Chiles isn't better quickly. See what Alessio looks like in more high leverage situations. He looked great at Indiana when they brought him in that one. Nebraska when they brought him in that one situation. He did not look as good against UCLA.
Jake Hawkins, number 1. It's extremely disappointing that MSU's offense Saturday night took 1 step forward, 2 steps back, and didn't put MSU in a better position to win the game. Most pathetic part was not converting on 4th and 1 when the Michigan defense wasn't even set. And 2, I'm sure Jonathan Smith is great and nice, plus a good coach, but I can't believe that he looks like an AI-generated emotionless robot on the sidelines. Great job pointing out in your column, Graham, that old-school way of building a football program no longer works. Good job, dude. 3, if and when Smith is fired, I'd reach to Pat Narduzzi again and hire him as head coach. I think Pitt players would follow, and I'm sure he would bring Max Bulla as the defensive coordinator. If that happens, put in the contract that Max is the head coach and waiting.
It's amazing. I feel like a lot of people would be okay with that. And when Joe Rexrode on this show brought up the idea of Pat Narduzzi before the last hour, he got laughed and mocked and being out of touch. And times have changed.
Who's saying that Pat Narduzzi should be the guy?
I think there are some fans that would be happy with
devastated.
That. It's a different vibe than it was a couple years ago.
You wouldn't be. I would be devastated.
Would you really?
Yeah, Narduzzi would just be like, "What do we? No, that's not going to work." Anyway. Finally, the jerk guy. I think everyone should just write off Michigan State football. There does not seem to be the will to do what is needed. Just accept that they will be in on the bottom 3 to 4 teams in the league every year. And bonus, Tum Tum going to be the next head basketball coach at Michigan State.
It'd be interesting to follow Tum Tum Nairn's career. Izzo said at some point he's going to hire him on his staff, which means Izzo's going to coach for a little while longer. And I think Tum Tum's a pretty bright coach. It'd be interesting to see where that goes. I also think if you could financially make football work, finish in the bottom 3 or 4 and put all your money into basketball, hockey, women's basketball, everything, and be great everywhere else, you can make an argument for it. The problem is everything else suffers when football suffers, and that's where we kind of are now. I'd like to appreciate Jason, the Rube, right here for reading all of those. That was a lot, and you were great. And this is one of your best performances as a reader. You should go down to a library and read to children, because I think they would enjoy your dulcet tones.
Oh, wow.
We appreciate all of you for producing our show, as always, all of your takes, even the ones that take shots at us. We, of course, appreciate Midtown Brewing Company here in downtown Lansing. We appreciate Xfinity. Go to Xfinity.com and type in your address. See the best deal for you. You can probably pay less and have better services than what you are getting now. And, of course, we appreciate Muskox Flannel. Go to GoMuskox.com. You can use the promo code Peacock for $15 off your flannel purchase. You can look like your best version of yourself, be comfortable, feel better about everything going on in your life, including MSU football with a Muskox flannel. We'll be back Thursday. We'll do some Groovy Done It Twitter questions. We'll preview the Minnesota game. Thursday's the next time. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.